Please hit the like button coming in. I'm not going to go live until the few people that's in here hit the like button. I should not see people in here and 0 likes. That is not going to work for me. Not today. Come in hitting the like button. Come in hitting the like button.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us on our continued live coverage of the Sean Combs criminal trial. This is where we're going to be taking your questions for the next hour, hour and a half or so. All your questions about what's happening in today's testimony, what's been happening so far in this case, and there is a lot to break down with respect to Jane's testimony, the continued direct examination of Jane, alleged victim number 2 in the Sean Combs indictment, where he faces charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Arguably, she is the second most important witness in this case, maybe perhaps behind Cassandra Ventura, because she makes up the individual sex trafficking claims and transportation to engage in prostitution claims. And I got to tell you, I think if the theme for today was, what is it? It's more about trying to show her reluctance to these sexual episodes. The prosecution is trying to show a lack of consent. Just sorry, getting some playback in my ear, guys, just want to let you know. So showing some reluctance to these sexual episodes. I'll give you an example. For example, there are text messages that are being shown to the jury and to her, one in which she apparently says, and I'm kind of reading verbatim here, this is one to Sean Combs, "I'm not a porn star. These experiences are desensitizing sex for me. It's been 3 years of me having to bleep strangers." But then you're confronted with this message, and this is probably going to be the one that's talked about the most, where she says something along the lines of, "I know I was consenting. I know I was consenting. And basically, I know I was consenting like I say on tape." And she's talking about videotapes of these sexual encounters. And she's asked by the prosecutor, "Was that true, Jane?" And apparently she just testified, "I'm still trying to figure that out," and doubled down on saying that she claims she was high on these videos, that it follows a pattern, that she was just performing, right? That she wasn't really engaged in what was happening. And she also testified that once Cassandra Ventura's lawsuit came out, she said this was very harrowing for her, that this is almost what she was experiencing, that she apparently wrote Sean Combs, "I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. You gaslit me." Now, to give you an idea about what the jury's hearing, I want to play you something. There are voice notes that have actually come forward. I want to play you one in particular. So this is a voice note, I believe, from August of 2023 from Sean Combs to Jane after she apparently expressed she didn't want to engage in another hotel night, that her body hit a wall. Take a listen.
"Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all. At all. So I don't know. You think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you can be mad, I can have a spat, we can have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat, I'm just being clear. I can't do with you every time you get upset.
So what do we make of this? Well, I'll tell you what, a couple of things. First of all, we're going to wait for Elizabeth Milner to come out, our law and crime reporter, give us a play-by-play on some of the big moments that happened today. But also, one of the things why I love doing this lunchtime show is we can report to you in real time what is happening in that courtroom and break it down in real time. So the prosecutor just asked the court, Your Honor, this might be a good place to break. Okay, jurors, you may go. The judge says, how much longer, Ms. Comey? And Maureen Comey, the prosecutor, says, I'm confident I'll finish today. It may be the end of the day, but today. And then once we'll get that, we'll move on to cross-examination. Okay, let me bring in my all-star panel. I'm joined by legal analyst, professor of media law at Rowan University, Candace Kelly, criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney Tyler Bailey, and criminal defense attorney William Corman. It's great to have you all here. Tyler, I'll start with you. Again, just let everybody know, guys, I'm getting some playback in my ears, so... Tyler, what do you make of this? I mean, it's not a clean-cut prosecution. You're getting kind of a mixed bag here. I played you the audio. I just recounted the text message that she apparently sent to Sean Combs. Is this a case of a toxic relationship, or is this a case of manipulation and him manipulating a victim of sex trafficking? What do you take away from it so far?
I think there's arguments on both sides of that. You hear her saying, I consent. And, you know, I think that's the worst part that came out for the prosecution.
My wife got me this engraving pen, and now I can't stop using it. It's not just fun, it also helps to relax and relieve stress, enhances attention, thinking, and memory. I tried it on every surface, and it's very light, and my hand doesn't get tired even if I engrave all day. After all, you can engrave a picture or text on the most ordinary item and make it unique. But the best part is, it's cordless, so I'm not stuck in the workshop. I can engrave right in my room or take it outside and create in nature. Ready to start your next favorite hobby? Get 30% off and 30 free bits today. Plus, there's a 60-day money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this offer. Order now.
Interesting, William, her reaction to Cassie's lawsuit. That opened her up. I remember there's a whole question about whether or not Dr. Dawn Hughes, this forensic psychologist who already took the stand to talk about the complicated relationship between abusers and victims, whether she has to take the stand once more, be recalled once more, to kind of explain some of this. But it seems what an interpretation from the jury could be is that once this lawsuit came out and she saw Cassie's allegations, perhaps it changed and opened up her mind and started to realize she might be the victim of something, or the jury might not be convinced. Throwing it to you.
Now, I agree with what you're saying. I think that it does cut both ways, as Tyler said before. I think that forensic psychologists would help with this in order to explain, why abusers or why abuse victims stick around with their abusers, why they continue to love them. I mean, there were text messages back and forth about her still loving him and her caring about his medical conditions. So I think some context is important. I think the prosecution probably knew it was going to come down the pipe like this. I'd be surprised if they were blown away by this testimony. Obviously, the jury didn't know it was going to come out like that, but honestly, I think the prosecution did an excellent job prepping this witness, and I'm sure they weren't surprised by that answer at all.
Yeah, Candace, I don't know if it's a situation where you had past prosecution witnesses, perhaps like Brianna Bungolan, who was accusing Sean Combs of dangling her off a 17-story balcony, and you wonder if that actually happened. You wonder if that story actually happened based on digital evidence and travel receipts. and some of her own testimony and messages. Whereas the jury could say, you know what, with Jane, I think all of this happened. I feel like every one of these sexual episodes happened, but what I'm taking away is not her necessarily not being a credible witness, but even taking everything she says is true, does it amount to sex trafficking or racketeering? I think she definitely helps with transportation to engage in prostitution. A lot of testimony about literally transporting these male performers and herself different areas to perform in sex work. I think that might be clear. So it's not for me that she's not being credible. For me, it might not mount up to what the prosecution's looking for.
Yeah, I think it may not mount up. In addition, I'm not sure if it waters down what Cassie said, because it might just be a pylon where you're saying, hey, wait a minute. If she went through this, and this is how she's feeling about it. Actually saying, yes, I consent at one point, not good for the prosecution, but as you said, not a surprise. Well, how does that also contextualize Cassie? It seems as though once she heard about Cassie's lawsuit, she felt like, well, you know what? I didn't realize, as you said, that I'm actually a victim in this and that this is what's going on. It seems that she was, even up to this day, trying to figure out, I don't know why I did say yes. But I'm afraid that her seeming like she's so confused is what I think the jurors might sense that I'm hearing from other people, especially women. It seems as though maybe on one side, you just potentially maybe needed to get a job in order to get out of this. In other words, are we sure that you were being forced and that this particular $10,000 of rent was being held over your head? Well, that $10,000 rent came 2 years into your relationship. So it just
okay, hold on. Let's pause. Let's pause. Shout out to Tisa.
For a mistrial. That testimony is them. Evil people doing stuff all the time, and they never get held accountable. But let me tell you what is real. One, this crazy winter we're having in NYU, let me tell you what is real, okay? Diddy is done, and he was done in by a secret recording that he made when he was gaslighting, right? Gaslighting victim, gaslighting Jane. On top of that, guess what? They didn't even have to raise the thing. They didn't have to do anything. This mofo had it saved on his phone. And while it was recording and she was breaking down, he was writing up a notepad and a Sharpie. Y'all, let's get into this. Everybody want to act like Diddy is a Marvel supervillain. Everybody want to act like Diddy got to pay the cost to be the boss. Diddy must feel so stupid. He messed up. And yes, I am live from court, in court, today, every day. Oh, we're going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Welcome back, everybody, okay? I'm on the quick break, right? Okay, so where do we start, okay? Let's jump into the meat of Jane's discussion. Now, you guys know that prosecutors have promises that Jane is going to testify that Diddy got super violent and beat her ASS because she did not want to participate in a freak-off. Made her cover up her bruises and then had her perform. But let's talk about the most damning evidence that we have, that she was never down with it, that she never wanted it, that she truly was sex trafficked through fraud and coercion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's talk about the most damning evidence is Diddy's own secret recordings that he made of this girl. Y'all, this is karma. And this is what I mean when people say karma isn't real. Yes, evil people do persist. But at the end of the day, eventually, who you are and what you are catches up with you. Y'all, I took notes. They played that mug. They played that mug in the courthouse. I took notes. Hold on, let me see if I can put my phone up on the stand so I can give y'all the dramatic reinterpret. I know Diddy feels so dumb. I know he feels so stupid. Hold on, no. No? Okay. Okay. Ew, what's that smell? New York City in the summertime. Yeah. Get my shit off that crowd. Yeah. Hold on, y'all. Yeah. God, is this what Diddy smelling in his thing with the rats and roaches? I don't like the way this looks either. Okay, let's get into what actually happened with Diddy, okay? We got to get into this. Preponderance said, so happy for your Nancy. Did you guys see me on Nancy Grace? Did y'all see me on Nancy Grace? Y'all, I have been on ABC Live. I have been on Nightline. I have been on Publix 11. I have been on Nancy Grace. And guess what? I'm still in the courtroom. And guess what? It's not stopping. I have a bunch of other appearances. Y'all gonna see it. And we're planning something good, right? Listen, I promise every week until the trial is over, we're going to start having a weekly recap. It's either going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Turn your notifications on, but you know what I think, right? Monique Anderson said, you think Jane's working for the defense? Baby, listen, deeper than skin. Welcome to the Talent family. Okay, listen, let me tell y'all something. Anybody thinks that Jane is working for the defense, y'all out of your GD minds. I don't know how it's playing in live tweets, but literally they got that boy cooked. It is done. This is why Diddy is actually asking for a mistrial. That testimony is done. On top of that, the judge called both defense counsels. First of all, they said they're bringing Dr. Hughes back. You remember the girl that was like telling people how victims of abuse behave? The prosecution is trying to bring Dr. Hughes back to talk about victims' testimony and explain it to the jury, just in case. I guess they want to do a 3-point layup. But get this, Diddy's team and that mistrial. Oh, so after the mistrial, the prosecution said, you ain't running us anymore. Usually, like, when they put in something, the prosecution be da-da-da-da-da-da. Maureen called me and Emily and all those said, we are enjoying our weekend. They literally looked at that motion for mistrial and came in today on Monday and said, Your Honor, we'll get our response back today. The fact that people are really online trying to act like the Southern District of New York, that has taken down some of the biggest criminals in the world, had the nerve, time, or gall to falsify evidence and take Diddy's butt down, when Diddy got his own recordings proving, congratulations. These people, they just got married in the courthouse. Looks so cute. Look, right there. Well, anyway, right? When Diddy got his own recordings, thank you. All right. Can I get the stand? Hold on, y'all. I just got my stand. Hold on. We're about to get this, right? Thank you. Listen, when Diddy got his own recordings and took them own self down, what else is Southern District of New York? You know what the funny thing is? Diddy literally is so smart, but he was too smart by half, where he literally, if he had not taped Daphne hold on, y'all. If he had not taped the docket secretly, right? If he had not taped Sarah secretly, if he had not taped all the girls that he was with secretly, right?
Right.
If he had not taped who is it? Cassie secretly. If he had not taped Meek Mill secretly, who else was he with, right? If he had not taped who else? Did he ever take Kim Porter secretly, right? I think when he was with the women he was with, he kept taping them secretly. And I think whenever he got with Jane, right, I think he also taped those people secretly and he didn't know, right? So it makes me think, if you were taping Jane secretly, did you call every woman that was around you that time Miami? Who else was around him? Did you call all those things? Did you also do that secretly? No, you guys don't understand. Did he tape everybody he was with secretly, including Jane Doe? Think about who was around him at that time. He literally, and you guys, just to let you guys know, Jane Doe is not public facing. Her identity has not been revealed. I promise you guys don't know who Jane Doe is, all right? I promise y'all, right? Y'all do not know who Jane Doe is, okay? But you literally, right? You literally, nobody knows who she is. She is some random, when I say random, an unknown girl. She's just a regular girl. Nobody knows. I know there's rumors going around, but they're not celebrity and they don't have a name, okay? So stop it. But you think about what Sarah went through. You think about what Mia went through. You think about what Joy Chavez went through. You think about all the women that Diddy was around at that time. Did they have to suffer like this, and did they not know? Okay? Again, at the end of the day, you guys, nobody knows who Jane Doe is. So let's just move on. Y'all don't know. I'm telling y'all, okay? In any case, right? And actually, I don't even know who the girl is. So it is what it is. Okay, right? So listen to me on this, okay? So Diddy and his secret tapings. Why do I say even secret tapings of Meek Mill's birthday party? Y'all don't remember when one of the party planners actually said that Diddy took over this like chocolate mansion, and he took out all of the smoke detectors or carbon monoxide protectors, right? And then he they said he replaced them with something that looked like cameras, right? And when they left, the whole mansion was trashed. There was bloody sheets, there was tunnels, there was all this stuff. Daisha Jones, thanks for you, thank you. There was all this stuff that was around, right? And all that stuff happened. And at the end of the day, and that's what I said, why we thought that it was secret. Because after that, when Meek Mills was like, yo, no Diddy, what happened? There were photos that were taken from an above angle that looked like they were screenshots from the party. It looked like there were screenshots, right? And there were photos that were actually taken. And it was from an angle from the smoke detectors. So it's like, no, he used to film all these parties. I know that his team is really trying to say like, oh my God, freak offs were just one woman, one man. And maybe that's so the celebrity friends can get off. I don't know. I just know that there are multiple party planners that went on record for reputable things that said that they also planned not only as corporate parties, but they also planned parties, right? They also planned parties for the SNEX parties. That is on record. So now that people are trying to act, well, listen, I'm not saying it was like eyes wide shut, but I'm just saying for people to act like there was no SNEX parties going on, it seems like it's a little bit disingenuous. Now, again, the SNEX parties you could say were So the SNEX parties you could say. The SMEX parties, you could actually say, maybe were consensual. However, the freak-offs, they are trying to say it's not. Listen to what happened. No, they ain't gonna be on mistrial. Stop believing this Fulton County propaganda. Harvey Weinstein is across the street and has asked for a mistrial so many times. I think he's up to 13 times. Harvey Weinstein has asked for a mistrial 13 times. He ain't gotten on once. Just because you ask for a mistrial does not mean you're actually going to get a mistrial. Stop believing the hype, right? Listen. Anyway, let's get into this and what happened. It was really, really crazy. Okay? This was crazy. Okay? So again, they want to recall Dr. Hughes. She is the expert that they tried to get her testimony stricken. The prosecution came back and said, we ain't stricken nothing. Guess what? We want this again. You guys don't forget, I'm going to be on Nancy Grace. I've already been on NBC Nightline. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and that is good. All right? So, listen. Jane was telling her testimony about how, at this point, she had gotten tired of the freak-offs. And she was always telling him, Sean, I do not want to have these freak-offs, all right? Also, you guys, just to let you know, for the chat, we are not going to speculate. We are not going to say. We're not going to do it. If I see anybody even trying to guess who Jane Doe's identity is, I will delete the comments and you will be banned from the channel. Now, for those of y'all that care about being banned from the channel, that might do something. But we are not going to guess or speculate. I don't even know who the girl is, and she is not a public-facing figure, and I do not believe she has any public-facing profiles, okay? So, cut it out. We don't want to hear it. Don't guess it in the chat. Don't guess in the comments, and if you do, I will be forced to block you, okay? Anyway, right? They said, so Jane was like, listen, oh my God, Paige Collins, how is Diddy been acting? Oh my God. When Jane was testifying, Diddy was sitting there leaned up. I honestly think he went from, to me, vacillating between really, really caring and being like, you know, like trying to look like he gave a damn, like, and you know you felt like that. You mean when the train was getting run on you and I wouldn't let you wear a condom? Really? That made you feel upset? But for why? Why and what a train ran on them? And for 40 hours and had to wear a condom, right? And then sometimes he just looked like fed up. And I said, you know what? You're not, and this is all my opinion, right? Who knows what he was really thinking? But I said, you know, you gotta be a special kind of mofo that you still can't even pretend to have any patience for Jane. You gotta be a special type of mofo. I'll tell you what, also, like Jane was testifying, the victim was testifying, Mama Combs was sitting up straight. She was leaned forward. I think, in my opinion, Diddy was trying to give her the eye. And you know what I do want to say too? Jane, in all her messages, was begging Diddy to care. Begging Diddy to give a fuck about her. Begging Diddy to stop, right? And just about her and treat her like she was human. and stop messing with her mind. And you know the whole thing? If you don't want me, then don't talk to me. Like literally begging for go ahead and release himself. Hold on, let me put my bag over there. I'm back. And scene. Okay, right? So, I think she was just like Jane was begging for Diddy just to stop psychologically torturing her, which is what he was doing. Which I think I'm gonna have on to talk about it because he did a good thing about how all these women, the pain was the point for Diddy. He loved psychologically torturing women. He loved psychologically torturing people. The pain and the chaos, it seems like that's what he was there for. If you believe the victims, and I 100% do. But the fact of the matter is, if he had just treated victim like she was human, if he had treated her like she mattered, and she wasn't asking for anything, she would just ask like, just an ounce, just a, okay, go ahead, be in peace. She wanted to be released from the trauma. I mean, mentally released. And he could have, but he refused to. And how ironic is it that the person you thought was your bottom B, the person you thought that you could delight and just smush their heart into like the proverbial ground, the person you thought that you could treat like a piece is the person that even when you got on the phone and tried to manipulate, that's the person that took you down. But you know, the sad thing is, but lucky for us, but sad for him, is that she didn't take you down. You took yourself down. You running that same shit, doing that game, rinse and repeat, is what all had us in the courtroom. Why, Marie called me was lean to the side, baby. She ain't got no worries. You know, Mark, I can feel your wife was going on, kept looking over at Diddy like, you okay? He kept looking over at Diddy. Yes, I am in court. I don't know what y'all heard, Diddy. He's gonna be in court till the day I die. 8BK said, we appreciate you too. I appreciate you too. Also, Diddy said, hey, Tisa, I think you should turn off the comments. They're saying that, y'all, are y'all gonna make me turn the comments off? Are y'all going to make me turn the comments off? I'm on my phone. Hold on.
Y'all, please hit the like button.
Listen, B, if you need to, you can, thank you. B, if you need to, you can block people, of course, but you can also turn it off. I'm sick of, it's not y'all, I'm sick of the fucking dementors in this chat. Like, we are talking about real victims and getting justice served, and y'all trying to play a game of guess who and gotcha. A game you're losing, by the way. Move on, okay? Anyway, right? So anyway, all he had to do was just treat her like a human. All he had to do was not hold callous and such an a-hole. Oh, thank you, B. That's all you had to do. And now look, you couldn't even do that. Donna Freeman, thank you so much for the super chat. You couldn't even do that. You couldn't even do that. We're going to go to members only.
I need for y'all to hit the like button.
Thank you. I'll let my members run amok because I know y'all know how to act. Anyway, he couldn't do it. Let's get into this,
hit the like button.
Imagine sitting there.
Why do I have to do this?
She was confident. She was cocked to the side. She said, I forget the girl's name, but she was like, play this on the one and twos. And she was playing voicemail after voicemail, right? Let me tell you what's going on, right? So she said, now here's the thing. Unlike all Cassie's friends, they're like, oh, you still talk to Cassie. You still know Cassie, right? Victim said that she only met Cassie twice. Once at a fashion show in 2015 and another one at Diddy's Father's Day party, and that's where she actually met him, right? Now, here's the thing, right? She said there's been no, victim said there's no communication outside of that. She said she broke down. She felt so bad. She was giving him a lot of sympathy. The jury was up and alive. They was taking notes, right? She said that she literally wrote all her feelings in voice notes. Voice notes are the new diary. She wrote all her feelings in voice notes. And then she copied and pasted some of the voice notes And I said, oh, look at that. Victim is just like us. She copied and pasted some of the voicemails and she put it straight into, right? She put it straight into, what do you call it? She put it straight into the text. You guys, from a legal pattern, Kelly L, thank you so much. And Talking Doctor, thank you so much. Kelly L, thank you for super chat for the 3rd live stream, okay? And Talking Doctor, welcome to the family, right? Listen. Anyway, so let's see, where is it? You guys, let's focus on what I'm saying. Forget the trolls and I don't even think they're real people. They're not real people. And let them run these numbers up. It is quite okay, okay? Right? So anyway, they said everything is, she said, hold on, let me see if I can go members only. 1 second. Hold on. One second. Okay. There we go. I just put it subscribers only. Okay, so are we good? I think we're good. Okay, so let's get back into my little subbies, right? All right, sorry. And how much do you want to bet half these haters are sub to me? Anyway, right? Let's get this, right? She said, I'm going to jump right into it. Okay, so on November 15th, 2023, this is days before this lawsuit was filed and nobody knew about it, right? The victim sent a text message, right? She sent a text message because apparently she'd been forced to have a free call. And she sent a text message being like, do this, I don't like it, this sucks, you make me feel like trash, you make me feel dirty, you make me feel this, you make me feel that. Jane was going in, right? That was before anybody knew about the lawsuit, right? November 19th, 2023, Jane sent this message. I'm paraphrasing. Jane said, I've been crying all night. It makes me sick that this lawsuit, word for word, is like reading my own trauma. You made me have free calls for 2 birthdays. You made me have sober nights where I felt disgusting. You knew this lawsuit was coming and you gaslit me and made me feel crazy. This is all just some sick game to you. I'm nothing but a toy. So basically, realize that she had been psychologically, the pimp Romeo thing, psychologically manipulated and destroyed. It's Mimi. Welcome to the Telltale family, right? Now get this. And this is what I mean about his cruelty. It's what got him involved. You could have called victim back. You could have sent victim a text. You hadn't gotten arrested right now. You didn't know what was going on. Some people don't. Thank you so much. 2 days later, after a person that is a carbon copy of Cassie's story, somebody that can totally take you down, somebody that is me, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna need for you to get on board. Like, to me, if that was me, it would never be me. But if that was me, right? If that was me, I would have said, let me get victim on, because I haven't stopped doing this mess. And all this stuff is going on. And even from a PR standpoint, this is before the feds gave any charges. Even from a PR not be happening, right? I could not be happening. This cannot be happening. Do you see what I'm saying? Forget the criminal. From a PR standpoint, I can't let what I do, right? So get this, right? Listen, it's deeper than that. Diddy used her 100%, but don't forget that Diddy. Oh, hey, come on over. Hey, we have Law Logic really quick. We're gonna take a quick thing. He's gonna be on the channel. He's gonna be on the channel sometime this week or next week after Jane Doe is done testifying, so we can get to this. Right now, what's your take of what's going on? Let's get your honest take.
My honest take is that the state is really going to have trouble with this third charge for the sex trafficking.
Why do you think?
I think that she said herself, I don't know that I was forced. I mean,
Were you there at the end of the testimony where she called him crying, saying it wasn't consensual? You know it wasn't consensual, and I just want you to know that I never thought this was consensual.
I'm not saying it was consensual. I'm not saying it was.
Okay.
I'm saying she keeps shooting herself in the foot.
How?
Because when she keeps referring to him as my partner, and she keeps saying, you know, this is what a girlfriend does. This is the sort of statements which we can expect on cross-examination.
Okay.
Is going to be coming out. They're going to be coming after this very, very hard to just try and say you felt obligated, not because he's giving you drugs, not because of the money, but you felt you had to do this because that's what a good girlfriend does, in your opinion.
Okay.
Now, I still think that's not to say it's not a monster. He's a
What
terrible
about,
human
what about
being.
the violence you're just about to introduce?
Okay, so now the violence that I think can be key.
Yeah.
But here's the thing on the violence, and I want to be clear about this. Look, the guy's
Please
a monster.
don't say anything to get me canceled.
No,
Go on.
I'm just saying, he's a monster.
Okay.
He's a terrible human being.
Okay.
No, any guy who treats a woman like that is dirt.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, with respect to establishing that that's the cause of him trafficking, you have to show that she's doing it out of fear of future violence, right? Or that he's pushing her to do it right now.
Here's the thing. But here's the thing that a lot of people are overlooking, right? And really quick, Antoine Hart said, good morning, Tisa. Looking forward to the Nancy Gray show today. Yay! Justice for the victims. Stay safe. Here's the thing I want to proposition to you, though. Okay. Why is everybody acting like there's not something called sex trafficking by fraud? And he's met those standards over and over again.
By fraud.
Okay, so when you're referring to sex trafficking by fraud.
By fraud.
What's the fraud here?
The fraud is saying, having her ingest drugs and saying we're going to have a night, it's just going to be the two of us. She gets high, she gets loose, she shows up at the hotel, there is somebody there. Saying that if you just do this freak off,
that's manipulating.
We will go on
and
a
manipulation
trip like
is fraud.
Saying if you do A, I'll do B. The rent is coercion. The fraud is literally when there are
misleading
acts, promising, it says it in a statute, a relationship, romantic, more time together. That's sex trafficking by fraud. And don't forget, when it comes to sex trafficking, real sex, there are pimps and there are people in love with them.
Right.
And that's how they get them to stay.
Right. Right. No.
So,
and I agree with you that someone could reasonably come to the conclusion that that is sex trafficking.
Yeah.
You need to get all 12.
What do you mean?
You need a unanimous jury to all agree.
Well, they have to put that out there to say that.
I agree with you that I would classify that as being sex trafficking.
Yeah.
But the question is, are you going to get 12 people that all 12 of them are going to agree that
yes, when you explain to them what sex trafficking by fraud
but when they
is.
have text messages saying, just do this tonight real quick.
Right.
And then, baby, we will go where you want tomorrow. And the whole time, she's like, babe, I just want to go straight to the trip. Right. I want to go straight. No, let's just do this really quick.
Right.
And you do it over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then after he does it, right, he tricks her, he leaves her.
The state needs to bring you in as their they're going to bring Tisa in for closing arguments.
Listen, I'm just saying that. I will say this, though. Here's my question to you, okay? And then I'll get back to the chat and give you other things.
I'm trying to be real.
No,
I try to look at it from like all sides.
Listen, look at it from all sides. I've been looking at it too. I think they have them dead to rights because here's the thing, and what I want to ask you. You cannot, as a juror, just convict on vibes, right?
Right.
They have them, once they introduce the force, and they will after the thing.
They're not supposed to. I won't tell you it doesn't happen, but on vibes, you're saying that they hate the guy?
Well, they're not. Well, when I say, or even like the guy, think about it. With Jane, the force is being introduced, brutal force. We have the coercion, right? And we have the fraud. So I have you going and coming. What juror can go in there and be like, well, I don't think it was any of that?
I'm saying if someone is looking out for Diddy, right?
Yeah.
And we see some of them even in the courtroom here. Some people who are Diddy files, right? They're just if someone is looking for Diddy, you can one by one start to knock off each of these things as being something that's compelling her to do it. You can knock it off that she's looking to do it because she's the girlfriend. You can knock it off that it's like, I mean, look, some of the stuff that came out today, I agree with you. Some of it feels more coercive. When she's saying, hey, I'm frustrated with the way that you're dealing with me in this whole thing. I agree with you that now. But then she ends up going along and saying, okay, I'm going to do it. So is it because of the money, or is it that he love bombs her? She referred to him love bombing, so maybe she got a sucker by the love bombing.
But I think Dr. Hughes needs to come back and explain the whole Romeo pimp dynamic. Because this is what happens in sex trafficking. And the fact that people are acting, and I get it. The fact that and it's something that needs to change, that if you put a romantic relationship on it, if I punch you in the face right now, I will get arrested. If they find out we're in a relationship, the cops will be like, go ahead, walk it off. Like, they'll tell us both, go walk it off. It's just a lover's quarrel. But for some reason, whenever it comes to anything, when there's any type of potential romance or entanglement, they want to walk away. I don't know how the jurors will go in when you see the arson, the bribery, the this, the that. You see the Cassie, you see the Jane.
He's screwed on RICO.
Yeah, I think he's screwed on RICO.
I think he's screwed on RICO. I think Cassie just felt, with Cassie's sex trafficking, it just felt way more coercive so far to me.
Well,
that's what my flavor that I've gotten. It felt more coercive than Jane.
Jane.
So agree with me on that. That Cassie's situation seemed worse. Maybe it's because we saw
I
the
actually think true
and the violence.
True. I do think that when we hear Jane's story, and I do think that Jane, just because, like, you know, a big proponent of domestic violence often flows right into sex trafficking, all this stuff. I feel that, and this is from the bottom of my heart, it's the pimp lover boy thing. Most victims, even of DV, are still madly in love with the person that abused them.
Right.
And even though they might have bruises, they will sit on that witness stand and say, it was just an argument, I hit him first, please let it go. So when you get into the spirit of domestic violence, when you get into the thing of that, they are the people that the prosecution has to fight to come and actually give a testimony are the people that they actually abuse or that they're trafficking. So when you're saying my partner, which is why I think it's important Dr. Hughes gets back on the stand, because again, we're giving two different opinions, right? He's a man, right? But he's giving...
What was that?
I'm joking. I'm joking. He's giving his opinion too. But again,
I think he's a monster. I think he's a terrible person.
No, it's a monster. But
I think it'd be appropriate. I want this guy to stand trial for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I want. I want him to just be dealing with this for the rest of his life. That would be appropriate. Okay?
Yeah.
And
well, really quick, right? Yeah. Listen, and I'll thank you. And he blackmailed her with the tape. He blackmailed her with the tape. Again, I think I don't understand how somebody can think that somebody is literally
blackmailed Cassie.
She's going to testify. He blackmailed her too.
Oh, okay.
That's coming with the violence.
So that changes. See, you want to introduce me violence and blackmail. That changes the whole thing.
Yeah.
And here's why the blackmail is such a big thing to me. Okay? Because part of what we need to establish is not just that she feels forced, but that he knows he's forcing her. He has said the intent. Let's say Diddy thinks she really is okay with it.
Okay.
So in that case, he doesn't have the mens rea, which is the Latin term for the intent to actually be committing a crime. Without mens rea, you can't be convicted. However, I think the state can make this following argument, which is to be really powerful. If you are getting to a point that you have to blackmail someone, that means you know they don't really want to do it. That shows to me the mens rea. Well, to me, when Cassie was telling me the story about she's on the airplane and he's showing that video there and saying what's going to happen next, to me, that was it. Hang him. Because now this guy knows that he's forcing her to do something she doesn't want to do. He has to know that. So if he's engaging in physical violence and saying, do it, I'll beat the hell out of you, or he's engaging in blackmail, when he's going to that level, that's not your typical boyfriend pushing a girlfriend to something. Well, that is someone who's a monster who knows he's abusing and taking advantage of someone.
Okay, so let me ask you this really quick. Say Jane comes back and she testifies that they got into an argument. She threw something at him. He chased her around the house, their house, because now it's their house, kicking in the doors, chasing her. Things settled down. Later on, he said he wanted to break off. She said, I don't really want to. They get into another argument. He beats her viciously, blacks her eye out.
Okay, so that's...
Bruises all over. Well, hold on. Bruises all over. Then makes her put on, immediately after the beating, put on foundation to cover up the bruises and then have her freak off immediately, that she did not want to do. Would that change your mind?
100%.
Because that's what's coming. According to the opening arguments, this is what the prosecution said, that
they did say
Jane was going to testify, almost verbatim. Right.
They definitely said engaged that he hit her within the last year.
Yes.
Which is
viciously
shocking.
Beat.
That he beat her within the last year.
Yeah.
And if he did that, and that leads to a freak off, rather than him being mad at her.
Yeah.
In other words, it's the last day he ever sees her.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, you bet you ratted me out. And he puts in her face and walks out.
Yeah.
That's not compelling her to engage in a freak off. But if he's doing it in the context of we're gonna go have a hotel night, she's like, no. He's like, bam, and we're gonna have a hotel night. That now is obviously to me, that's trafficking.
Listen, Okay, so we have sort of agreement. Listen, really quick, why don't you get your socials? He's also going to be on the channel to break things down, but he has his own YouTube channel and does it right. Why don't you get your socials to everyone?
So I am Good Logic, Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. You can find me on YouTube and Rumble at Good Logic, and on X you'll find me at The Following Pro. You probably say, why The Following Pro? It's because my show that I have a nightly show where I cover law and politics for The Following Program. That was too long to put in there, so The Following Pro.
The Following Pro.
That's on X, but everywhere else, everywhere you're gonna find me on video, that's gonna be Good Logic, LAWGIC, like not logic, but LAW because I'm a lawyer. I practice in this courthouse right here.
Okay, he's Logic, LAW, but it's a play on New York Logic.
There you go.
LAW, and he is going to be on the channel actually once Jane is done with her testimony to break everything down and to actually think, because I think she's scheduled to leave the last day testimony Thursday. We will see. I think Friday week going to be a good time for everyone to take a breath and be like, where are we at now? Because the prosecution is confident they're going to settle. They're going to rest sometime next week, and then Diddy's going to start his little show. So hey, always good to see you, and I'll see you on the channel. Make sure y'all check them out. Okay, so you guys.
Great seeing you.
Okay, I'll see you in the courtroom. All right? Yes, I'm still in the courtroom. I don't know what
they lied on her.
Anyway, right? Okay, so get this really quick, right? Get this, because I got to get back in the courtroom because she's about to get into the abuse, okay? Well, the physical abuse, right? Anyway, Jane texted him at 1:20 p.m., right? So 40 minutes later, he finally calls her, and she doesn't know that the call's being recorded. She doesn't know the call's being recorded. She literally called, and he taped her illegally, right? She is sobbing, crying. She doesn't know she's being taped. She's reading the lawsuit. She's crying. She's sobbing. She's like, this is me. I can't believe you did. You've been gaslighting me. You've been lying to me. This wasn't. And he's like, yo, this is all consensual. This is all consensual. You know, this is some freaky stuff me and you was doing. She literally says on the tape, it wasn't. I didn't want this. That may be the way you feel, but it wasn't. This is literally just what I was talking about a few days ago. Every time she tries to do that, he's like, and rushing her off the phone, right? He said, listen, but here's the thing, and it's kind of like the first shall be the last. He had no regard for this victim, and he talked to her and treated her like she was a joke, right? He said, yo, I'm sorry you feel this way. What do you want me to do? I swear I love you definitely and truly. This is just some kiki-ish we enjoy. Yo, I got a lot going on, my family and my girls. Manipulation. Because every single time he wants somebody to feel sorry for him, he brings up his kids and his cute little girls, right? She's like, this is just word for word. This is just not. They asked, excuse me, Jane, did you know you were being taped? No. Did you know anybody was listening? No. But thank God she was telling the truth in those calls. Thank God she was telling the truth in those times. Oh, wait, it's time to go back? Okay, listen. Sorry, guys. I'm going to be back. Let me go back up to the courtroom. I cannot miss any tea for you guys, but I swear to God, as soon as she is done testifying, I'm coming back, and we are having the mother of all lies. And, baby, we know we got the things. But let me just say this, right? This girl actually said on this, she was like, here's the thing also that really tripped me out. He couldn't even act like he wasn't annoyed with her. This woman holds your whole life in her hands, and you can't even give her the respect to act like you weren't annoyed with her. This man, this arrogance, this stupidity, baby, you reap what you sow. Anyway, let me get off these stinky New York streets. Actually, let me read a little bit more, right? Oh, also, really quick, let me just get to these messages really quick. Honeybee Therapy, thank you so much. House of Cards, Tarots, and Teas. I posted a highlighted comment on one of your weekend uploads about how to block comments with the thing. I've been blocking those comments. Oh my God, two worlds collide. Thank you so much, House of Cards, Tara. I love watching Joe's late night loves and Teas lives during the trial. Thank you. Thank y'all. You guys, I have it blocked, but these trolls keep doing stuff. But again, I'm going to have my moderators go in after and literally just start blocking people. Jack Walder said, listen, thank you so much. Shout out to BJ. Thank you, Jack Walder. Pamela Hilson, thank you so much for the super chat. Urban Influence, Dolores and Tisa, you're correct. His opinion is giving, his mind is made up. The victims are like, I think that, like, everybody has a different level, but the jurors, maybe, we'll see. Victoria Anderson, thank you so much for the super chat. Candy Ortiz said, I love you so much. You're doing a fantabulous job. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Night Skin said, Tisa, you're giving Spencer and Tracy guys at the French coat. Love your coverage. Thank you. Antoinette Hart said, yes, are they bringing Dr. Hughes back to testify at Jane Doe's mindset? It could speak to why she keeps referring to him as her boyfriend. Romeo smacks traffic. Exactly. They are bringing her. Benitra, thank you for joining. Mel, you're going to be on the channel too. Mel NYC Reviews at T says that Elle Woods meets Allie McGill of Diddy trial reporting. Mel, you're going to be talking too. Sherry Reddy said, hello, beautiful. And hello, family. So excited to see you and Nancy Grace tonight. Yes. One OGs and one me. This is going to be epic. Love all. We are here for it. Also, Nokia Africa, thank you. Opal White, thank you for joining Tattletales family. Jupiter said, love you, superstar. You're a starring star. Yes, and Antigone Hart said, good morning, Tisa. Looking forward to the Nancy Grace show today. Simply Velma, thank you for joining. And it's Mimi, thank you again. Oh, also really quick, Sarah McCluskey, thank you. Yunti Flip said, love your jokes, Tisa. Mary McQuinlan, thank you so much. And Breezy said, if you need a mod, I'm more than willing to help. Okay, thank you. I got you. All right, listen, you guys. Let me get back up to the courtroom because it's going down. But I swear when it's over, we're going to have a mega live. Miss Brown said, love this. Since you are there physically in the courtroom, is it true Jane is being planted as a chess move from Diddy? Sources are saying she's hurting the prosecution of both the case on Stop believing. No, I'm in that courtroom. If this is a chess move, baby, Diddy just needs to quit at life. I do not see this being a chess move. Again, they have him dead for rights with the statue, and they haven't even bought into violence. They don't have nobody dead to rights at all. Believe that. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me get back up to court. I swear to God, I'm going to do the mother of all lives. This is going to be the Super Bowl tonight, and we are going to unpack everything. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Is Diddy a Romeo pimp? Is he a Romeo pimp? Let's get back over here. Let's go.
Yeah, and I'm afraid about how jurors will see this compared to Cassie's testimony in terms of watering it down just a bit. Not necessarily a good witness for the prosecution, in my estimation.
Well, there's more to her testimony, right? So I started by saying the prosecution thinks it's going to continue for the rest of the day. They might be on a lunch break, but I don't even believe we've gotten to the allegations of physical violence yet, which could change the whole course of this. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. Two reasons. One, we're going to try to get Elizabeth Milner up and find out what's been happening in that courtroom. And number two, I got to figure out what's going on with people talking in my ear. Got to figure this out. So we'll be right back right after this. Stay with us.
Y'all get the likes up, please. Is Diddy a Romeo pimp? Do y'all even know what that is? Do we not realize that a lot of you men are Romeo pimps? No, you don't know what a Romeo pimp is? You never heard of that? Oh, you saying no, he's not. Have you looked up what a Romeo pimp is? Have you looked it up? Have you looked up Romeo pimp? No, I don't know what a Romeo pimp is. Okay. See, this is the difference when people go into court. I'm sure when it comes down to the end of this, they will have all of this down. You know what I mean? Romeo pimp. The term Romeo pimp.
So I bought a $500 bottle of
Oh, hold on.
because it's the world's most popular fragrance.
Okay. Romeo is described as a type of human trafficking. Human trafficking. A Romeo pimp is a person who exploits others for commercial, S3X, often through manipulation and coercion. Lover boy. It says lovable tactics. They establish a relationship with their victims, often a romantic one, to gain, to gain trust and exploit emotional vulnerability. Is that not Diddy? Exploitation. They use the established relationship to control and exploit their victims, forcing them into the S3X industry. Hi, Kevin. Grooming. Hold on, let me see if I can. Grooming. This probably is too much. It's not going to. So a Romeo pimp is a real thing. Hold on. Hold on. Y'all please participate in the poll. I'm trying to speak before I do something else. And please come in hitting the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's see how much of this it will allow me to. Let's see where it stops. There goes some. Hey Leo, I'm trying to give y'all some in the comment section. Where did it stop? Manipulation. Where did it stop? Often. Here's the breakdown. They're on their way back. I was trying to give y'all some education.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So we have with us Elizabeth Milner, law and crime team.
Education on it. There we go. Ooh. It's not letting me put a lot of words in here. Romeo Pimp really exists. Let's go.
Court reporter who is in court today for all of the dramatic testimony of Jane, alleged victim number 2 in this case. And Elizabeth, it's good to see you. I was saying, I think the theme of her testimony is trying to show reluctance, right? Expressing reluctance, that she did not want to engage in these sexual activities with Sean Combs, more specifically with other men in front of Sean Combs through a series of text messages, and there's voice notes. There's a lot to condense here, and also, as we were talking about, a lot of complicating factors. What were some of the highlights? What do you think are some of the points of her showing, or allegedly showing, she did not want to participate in these sexual activities, these hotel nights, these debauchery nights? What stood out to you?
Yeah, well, a lot of it stood out to me, you know, and it was kind of a slow morning as far as just presenting these mountain of text messages to not only the witness so she could recall everything that she had spoken to with Sean Combs, but also for the jury to kind of understand where I think the prosecution was ultimately leading up to. So, for example, they were showing text exhibits from September 17th of 2023, where Jane was testifying how Diddy was kind of the only one making her perform for her at home, or for him at her home. And she said, I felt like he made such a big purchase, and this was something that I had to do. And that big purchase was her rent, which was about $10,000 a month, and how Diddy kept kind of throwing this in her face. And we see another text exhibit from that same time frame where Jane was saying, I wish we could go back to when we first started dating. I opened Pandora's box and can't close it. One night of fun turned into our entire relationship. I'm crying as I'm writing this. Then you see things like, or not you see, because again, we're not seeing these exhibits. So everything that I'm writing is just transcription from what the prosecution and the witness are kind of going over. So Diddy is replying, girl, stop, let's talk. And then he sends her an audio message. And then you hear Diddy kind of with this raspy voice where he's like, I'm sick in bed. The message that you sent me, what's the problem? We have an actual open relationship. What's the problem? And that Diddy never talked with Jane about her doing these hotel nights in the particular audio message when she was kind of telling him about her feelings as far as not doing it and throwing up after one particular hotel night or debauchery night or freak-off party where it was supposed to be a sober party. And while that sounds very nice and genuine, she's explained that at this sober party that she had to have sex with 4 escorts, and between escort number 3 and escort number 4, she threw up. And then Diddy said, okay, well, it's all out of your system, kind of let's go get back to it. And so we saw more text messages and in reference to one particular trip in September of 2023, where Diddy told her that he wanted to just take her to New York. They would spend some time together. Jane had thought that, okay, we are going to spend some time together. It's going to be a nice time. She was sending him places for them to go as far as restaurants to go to here in the city. But she was also kind of texting him some explicit things, such as, for example, Diddy was saying, okay, let's have a good time. Do you have your passport? And then Jane is responding, miss my pretty hard D. Yes, I have my passport. Baby, you turned me on so crazy. Can't wait. And Jane was saying that Diddy texted her on the flight. And at this point, she got particularly upset because Diddy was asking her where Cabral is. And Cabral was one of the escorts that they used. And so Diddy, again, Jane thinking at the time she was flying over to New York for just spending time with her boyfriend, and she was saying that Diddy was wanting an entertainer for that night, or entertainment for movie night. And movie night wasn't going to AMC theaters, which I personally love to do, but movie night was them watching their sexually explicit videos together and their recordings together of these freak-off nights. And so Diddy was saying, Jane was saying, I just remember taking deep breaths and feeling disappointed and defeated. And so Jane responded in this particular message, just got to Wi-Fi again, not sure, baby, in response to whether or not Cabral could fly into New York, because Cabral was somebody that was that resided in Atlanta. And so Diddy said, check red phone. Okay, I have a surprise if that's okay, and just one. And so Jane was saying that Diddy was going to introduce her to someone new. And so that she said that she hated it. She hated this entire concept, and she's getting pretty emotional while she's on the witness stand, kind of recalling that, again, she thought that the two were just going to go for a date night. She was going to enjoy her trip to New York City, and then it ended up being another situation where she had to participate in a hotel night. And so Diddy said, sending picture now, and that picture being of an escort, or a picture actually that came from somebody at Cowboys for Angels. And Jane was responding, it's not loading, about to land now. And then Jane texted Diddy the places that they could go for dinner, and she was like, I just really wanted to have dinner with him. And so then you see some text messages from September 18th of 2023 from Jane and Cabral, because Jane was explaining that an escort was coming over to the hotel, and she didn't like this particular escort, so she ended up sending a message over to Cabral. And we hear about these messages where Jane is saying, hey, you want to come to NYC for a day? And Cabral said, yes, I would love to, love. And then Jane says, okay, let me set it up now. Cabral sent all his information to her, and then Cabral ended up coming to the Trump Hotel for another hotel night. And again, these are messages from 2023, so fairly pretty recently. But as far as just the lead up to it, and Jane was explaining how Cabral landed, they ended up doing a hotel night, even though she didn't want to do a hotel night. And I think what the prosecution there was kind of sprinkling in that this was sex trafficking by fraud, or at least transportation to engage in prostitution, because she is flying out this entertainer, as she calls calls him from Atlanta to New York City, and then they do a hotel night, and then they slowly start to get into the text messages from October, later into November. And what happens in November of 2023, as many of us who have been following this case day in and day out know, is that is when Cassie dropped her jaw-dropping lawsuit. So in terms of just Jane kind of explaining Cassie's lawsuit while she was on the stand, she was also getting kind of emotional there too, kind of explaining how there were 3 particular pages in her 35-page complaint or so that really stood out to Jane because she felt like she was just recalling her entire story. And so we did see a lot of messages this morning, and then we were slowly kind of getting into the Cassie aspect of it. But it was just interesting the way I think the prosecution was kind of laying this out, and then we're kind of like, okay, well, where is this going after we're seeing these same messages? But then we finally got to the destination I think the prosecution wanted to go to, and it seems like it'll pick up from there after the lunch break.
A lot of points I want to mention to this. So the big thing we're taking away, it seemed to me this was a bombshell. There was at least one message where she basically expressed to Sean Combs that she was consenting. That she goes, I know I was consenting like I say on tape. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so...
I'm going to allow, this is called me filibustering. Because Elizabeth takes incredible notes, and there's so much activity happening in that courtroom. So this was actually towards, I think, maybe in the last hour or so. It actually stopped me when I was reading this because it's all about, was this consenting? Was this all consensual? And it seems the prosecution, you know, they had to fix this up a little bit. So talk to us about the circumstances of this message and what the prosecution asked Jane about it. And I mean, there's one thing to read it in the transcript. How did the jurors respond to this?
Yeah, so Jane was kind of explaining this after what had happened at this sobriety party. And again, this was essentially an orgy where Jane had to perform with various different men, about 4 different escorts. And even between escort 3 and 4, like I had just mentioned, that she had gotten sick. She got nauseous. She threw up during this. And Diddy kind of told her to keep on going. And so she was explaining that after this party that she had, she got a UTI from this. She said that she was having PTSD from these sex nights. She was feeling very triggered around this time period because around this time.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? This glasses can not only see far away, but also see near. This smart zoom glasses from Japan are really great. No need to wear lenses. The degree can be used from 100 degrees to 700 degrees.
And that Jane was explaining that she had told Diddy that he had placed these harmful men onto her, and she said, and then Diddy had said to her, talk to God, I'm going to pray for you. You're burning a bridge. You weren't prepared to pay her, insinuating that he was kind of paying her rent. That's what she interpreted it to be. And so Jane said in the text message that she knew that she was consenting on the tape, but she said that she was uncomfortable, but she kept doing it because she loved him. And she said that she knew that she appeared to be excited and that Diddy would throw it in her face, that she appeared to be excited on these particular tapes. But according to her, she said she was really uncomfortable. And even at points, Jesse, while she's testifying, I feel like just the entire grasp of it all, she's really kind of processing it, even processing it to this day. And again, these messages from around 2023. And so Jane kind of wrote in her notes app, which she sometimes would kind of copy and paste, send them in a text message form, about her feelings about doing these hotel nights. So Jane wrote in her notes, for once today, I thought you were compassionate about this trauma. You have thousands.
Hello, Hot 92.
I have PTSD. I'm feeling violated. Jane ended up seeing Diddy in person. Diddy comforted her at his Bel Air hotel. And so then Jane was explaining that there was an exhibit that was shown, again, that we can't see, but the jury saw it, the witness saw it, and the parties on both sides saw it. And Jane was explaining, in this moment, I felt supported by Sean, because it was a photo of her and Sean Combs together. She said that he understood me in this moment, and it was one of my favorite moments. And then afterwards, the two ended up spending time together. There was no drugs. It was just the two of them. But then Jane said that she was feeling anxious about Diddy's upcoming birthday, because when that note was sent, it's late October. And as we've been following this case, we now know Diddy's birthday, of course, to be November 4th. And so kind of
the poll is still up. It's 100 and some people in here. Only 42 votes. Is Diddy a Romeo imp?
that, or what she ended up doing was spending the night at home by herself because Diddy ended up spending that birthday with his family. But I think what's interesting, and I think this might be a point that the defense will kind of talk to her about whenever they get that time to cross-examine her, was that during this particular birthday that Jane got Diddy a mobile television, and this mobile television was so that way he could watch their videos together, their sexually explicit videos together. And she said that this television could suffice as entertainment for her, for Diddy. And so then that's when we start to kind of get into Cassie's lawsuit. But as far as just her saying that she consented on these tapes and told Diddy this, I definitely think it's a point the defense will pick apart whenever they do have that time to cross-examine her. So it's pretty conflicting. And as far as the jurors kind of watching all of this, I did see jurors, because we did have a different seating switch up, I should say. And we sat on a different side, so we get more of a view of the jury. And I feel like at times the jurors were kind of like, okay, this is another text. I'm seeing them really kind of intently like look at the exhibit screen right in front of them. And so they were just kind of, from what I could see, really just digesting all of this testimony. Of course, there were, I think sometimes I did see one juror kind of making a face, and I'm not sure if that was at the sexually explicit stuff that she was sending him or that he was sending to her. But for the most part, from what I saw, they were definitely overanalyzing these text messages, or not overanalyzing, but at least digesting them and really kind of interpreting them for their own mind.
And I'm curious how Diddy's behaving, because we know last week he was scolded by the judge for allegedly nodding at the jurors during a key piece of cross-examination. There were reports that he went up to the sketch artist and complained because he felt that the sketch artist, and we're showing these sketches, or part of the sketches, make him look like a koala. By the way, we put up a poll, and we asked our viewers, what do you think? Definitely a koala or don't see it. Sorry, not making a lie. 55% don't see it. They don't see a koala. But how has he been reacting during the course of what is, you know, important testimony and arguably points of the testimony that may help his case?
Yeah, from what I saw of him, he definitely isn't doing that thing where he's looking at the jurors, he's nodding along, because also the prosecution is giving this line of questioning right now. It's not his defense attorney, so it might switch up when the cross-examination begins, but possibly not also because of what the judge had told him last week. But as far as even the jury entering and exiting the courtroom, either for a break or for the lunch break, as we saw just a few minutes ago, it's a little bit different. Before, he would kind of turn around, watch them all go off of their seats, but this time I really saw him just laser focused on the judge, or just straight up looking down. So I think trying not to make eye contact. I don't think he wanted to get in the judge's crosshair, not one bit. Now, as far as the koala thing goes, I have to say there was this time where I did see Diddy talking to Jane last week, and I did see him kind of doing this. And I think as far as the koala goes, I think it was really kind of like talking about playing up the beard just a little bit as far as what you could see inside those drawings, because it is pretty cool to see.
Why is
Jane
his roots
kind of
black?
in her work, really kind of drawing everything piece by piece. Sometimes in testimony, when like
He needs to answer, why is his roots black?
Her to see how this is all coming along. And so it seems like, yes, Jane Rosenberg, and she does a great job. She does a fantastic job, and she really is very diligent when she's putting her court sketches together.
Okay, we have a question for you, Elizabeth, from one of our viewers, Tamara Tredkowski. Apologies if I mispronounced your last name. Elizabeth, were any potential upcoming witnesses mentioned today?
Unfortunately not. From what they tell us, and they being the prosecution, they say that they're still going to continue with Jane's testimony at least till the end of the day. Then we'll have the cross-examination for Jane. But the thing about Jane is she has to be off the stand by Thursday evening because she has a flight to catch, because she is going, I guess, on this trip internationally, either for business or for something else. But as far as just who we can expect for the next witness, they've been keeping pretty mum on that. I'm hoping they'll tell us at least at the end of the day today who that next witness may possibly be, but for right now they've been pretty tight-lipped about it so far.
Have they mentioned, I thought I read something, is there a conversation about recalling Dr. Dawn Hughes, an important witness, to maybe explain some of the behavior of these alleged victims, which the prosecution might need? There's been a lot of witnesses since her testimony who, texted Sean Combs' loving messages, posting loving messages, seemed to act in ways that were contradictory to being abused. You're listening to the complicated testimony of Jane, who, again, was in a relationship with Sean Combs up until his arrest, apparently still paying her rent. And these issues of was she a willing participant or not, anything about whether Dr. Dawn Hughes is going to take the stand again?
So the prosecution did file a motion to recall Dr. Dawn Hughes. However, the defense has yet to respond to that motion. And so the judge said, okay, the defense, you want to take until end of day to respond to this.
There you go. I just broke it down what a Romeo pimp is.
On whether or not this will actually happen, that being Dr. Dawn Hughes being recalled to testify, but it seems like it is something the prosecution wants. We're just waiting to hear what the defense has in their filing about obviously opposing to that. But it's interesting, if Dr. Dawn Hughes was to retestify, will we see Jonathan Bach again? We have not seen him since he cross-examined Dr. Dawn Hughes a couple weeks ago. So maybe it'll be exciting for him to come back, but we'll kind of wait and see what the judge has to say and what the defense even has to say in their response.
Also, got a question from RSS. Real quick, Elizabeth. What went on with this mistrial situation? Didn't the defense file for a motion for a mistrial? I think it had to do with what they believe is false, perjured testimony of some of the witnesses, right?
Yeah, so it all has to do with Bonna's testimony, and the defense during Bonna's cross-examination was kind of like, okay, Diddy wasn't even in that side of the country when this allegedly happened, and you say that Diddy dangled you off a balcony on the 26th. We had this receipt showing that he was actually at the Trump Hotel here in New York during, I think it was the 24th of September to the, I think, 26th of September of that year, or just a couple days. It might be takeaway here or there. But the defense did file a motion for a mistrial, or renewed motion for a mistrial over the weekend, and so I was expecting some arguments about it this morning, but another diversion yet again, and because the government has to respond to the defense's motion for a mistrial. Obviously, they're going to oppose it, and so business just kind of continued on as usual this morning. There was a little moment this morning where the judge was like, can I speak to both lead counsel in our chambers? And we thought maybe it's a jury issue. We didn't know kind of what was going on, and then again, they just went to business as usual. From what I saw of all the jurors today, they were all there. And so as far as the first question, the motion for a mistrial, the government will respond to that.
Why did she think it was a jury issue?
About it possibly tomorrow.
All right, Elizabeth Milner, I know you got to head back into that courthouse. Thank you so much. Great reporting as always.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to continue taking your amazing questions back here with Candace Kelly, Tyler Bailey, William Corman. Okay. Thanks so much.
Why did they think it was?
Okay,
why did she think it was a jury issue?
We have an interesting question. I'm trying to find it right now. Tyler, I'll throw this to you. Where is it? Big question in this case. Was this sex work, right? For purposes of sex trafficking, for purposes of transportation, to engage in prostitution. Tyler, this is from Jason Hewitt. Has anyone testified to Diddy paying them?
What?
That's a good question. I think that they have testified to receiving compensation for providing services for Mr. Combs, whether that is your rent being paid or other benefits
the
that
Punisher
come from performing in these sex.
Said he threw the money on the bed
for Mr. Combs. Now, nobody's testified to receiving, as far as the victims being paid, but you also have these escorts who've clearly been paid to provide and perform sex work on the women and victims who have testified in this trial so far. So you have that. They weren't doing it for free. And then you have also the survivors or victims who are also testifying to an extent to receive some compensation and being coerced or manipulated into performing free calls.
Well, look, Jane has testified that she was receiving gifts and cash, like wires, and that she was also getting her rent paid. But I don't recall the testimony of the Punisher. If he talked about receiving payment directly from
the Punisher said that Diddy threw money on the bed and said, I like this shit. He paid.
Travel of some of these performers. So that idea of payment and transporting, very important for the transportation to engage in prostitution charge, but also for sex trafficking, right? You're talking about commercial sex acts and whether something these performers or even the alleged victims were receiving something of
I like this
or
shit.
Something of value in order to engage in this. Okay, Candace.
T-Page.
This is from PSMAR. Is Jane the last witness for the government's case?
Potentially. I mean, they're saying if she goes to Thursday, and we have heard that the prosecution said that they will be done by Friday. I mean, it's unlikely, but potentially. But that's impossible in my estimation. I still think that there's a lot of gaps.
I was at lunch earlier, and literally a lady, she leans over, and she's like,
that need to be closed. I mean, KK, D-Rock, I just want to hear from security guards. I want to hear from
You're not going to hear from them.
Times, because we know Sean wasn't driving himself around. We know that Sean was asking other people to help, decorate the rooms and things of that nature.
Okay, so you're not going to hear from them. So you have to drive. Just what you're saying is enough. You know that they didn't drive themselves. He didn't drive himself.
It's about Christina Courtroom, this alleged chief of staff of Sean Combs. So many people have mentioned KK. When would be the most reasonable time for the prosecution to bring her onto the stand, assuming, she takes the stand? I think we have a problem with William's internet, so we're going to work on William. Let me throw it over to Tyler. Tyler, so many people mentioned KK. When would be the most reasonable time for the prosecution to bring her onto the stand?
There's been a lot of suspense regarding and surrounding KK this entire trial. I think that, you want to start off trial strong. I think they started off very strong with calling Ms. Ventura as their leading off witness and calling KK possibly as their closing witness who could actually tie everything together. Her being, Mr. Combs' right hand for so many years and being intimately involved in his business affairs. Maybe calling her at the end, bring everything home before they rest their case. That would be a good strategic place for her to testify in this case if I was running prosecution for the government.
This is a great question.
You can't make her testify.
This whole sidebar on immunity, all the people that have taken immunity. This is a question from Ashton McComb. Is it possible for someone to testify against Diddy and still be charged even if they have immunity? What is the immunity cover?
It depends
the immunity
on
covers
what they
things
negotiate.
that are said in relationship to whatever they are talking about, unless they perjure themselves. They can't perjure themselves and then claim to be immune. They also, if something comes out of that, let's say drug offenses, for example, there are 3 people I believe so far who have gotten immunity. If they talk about being involved in a drug transaction as a result of being in this situation, then they would not be charged, and this allows witnesses to talk even more and more freely, and that's why we have immunity. So it makes sense because we have a lot of people that were doing illegal acts here, and if you have them say, hey, I don't want to testify, well, you say, hey, listen, you'll be okay. Please just testify as a prosecutor. Please go ahead and testify as truthfully as you can, because you won't get in trouble for what you say unless you perjure yourself in this process.
And I mean, look, this is why Eddie Garcia, the former security guard for the LA Intercontinental Hotel, had to have some protection. Testified to accepting an alleged $100,000 bribe that he split with 2 other people for giving Sean Combs evidence, that videotape of him, appearing to beat up Cassandra Ventura, and then didn't report it on his taxes, deleted messages. It's a problem. He needed some sort of protection, but obviously it was important testimony for bribery, one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. Okay, we've got a legal question. This is from Erica Charlotte. I'll throw it to you, Tyler. What is the difference between a sidebar and approaching the bench?
So they're essentially the same. The judge could ask the counsel to come up there for a sidebar to talk about some ancillary matter associated with the case, and also counsel can ask the court or the judge, may we approach to talk about something, whether it's an exhibit or there's some small issue in the case. It's really a conversation amongst the lawyers and the judge, usually regarding some logistics or something minor involving just evidentiary issues, nothing that would sway the case one way or the other. And it's just more appropriate for it to be discussed in silence so the jurors don't think it's anything or the witnesses don't think it's anything significant regarding the case.
This is a good question. William, back to you. This is a super chat question from Nestdog. Thank you so much, Nestdog. Isn't there a 5th victim? I think there was. It was a pretrial hearing. In a pretrial hearing, the prosecutors informed the judge that they intend to call a victim 5. I don't know how much more additional information we have. I'll throw it to you, William. Let me, as you answer, I'll take a look to see if I can find something else more about it.
Sure. I do think they talked about a number of victims that they were going to have. The case is already going for quite some time. I think that they are doing a good job moving it along. I think that we may begin to run into some sort of witness fatigue if the prosecution keeps calling witness after witness. I mean, again, they have to prove the necessary element, but it's one of those things the prosecution needs to keep an eye on. Are they calling too many witnesses? Is the jurors tuning out? Is it something that they really need to keep doing in order to push the case on, or is it just testimony? I think those are decisions they need to make.
Yeah, and I think that this victim 5, who they might now be distancing themselves from since we haven't heard so much about it, was kind of like buried in all the legal back and forth, the legal documents. But it also appears that before the trial that the judge had ruled that victim 5 could not be granted anonymity at the trial, so we would know who this person is. The defense, I think, the defense's legal team, they tried to prevent victim 5's testimony from being presented. The judge allowed some of it to be heard, so I guess we'll wait and see. Okay, we have another super chat question. This is from Richard Essaw. Thank you so much, Richard. Jesse, in your estimation, if the prosecution indeed, I think it's wraps up Friday, out KK testifying or D-Rock, do you think it's enough to convict Diddy? I'm going to throw this question to all of us, but I'm going to start off. I think yes. I think yes. Now, obviously, what do I mean by that? I've said it before, I'll say it again. For racketeering, whether it's the testimony of Kid Cudi regarding the car and arson, Capricorn Clark allegedly being taken at gunpoint for kidnapping, the various witnesses who've talked about procuring drugs for Sean Combs, including Jane, who testified she transported drugs across state lines for him. Those are underlying drug offenses. I think you've hit a number of the predicate crimes, and also forced labor. Again, assuming the jury believes all this, so they're just ticking the boxes. I don't know what the jury's going to say, but assuming, the Mia, who worked for Sean Combs, saying she was sexually assaulted, and then these other workers who said they were being blackmailed and they were being forced to work long hours, I think that they've made a cognizable case for racketeering, at least proving the underlying crimes. And I think through testimony like David James, the former assistant, saying this was Sean Combs' kingdom, we're all here to serve it, that's what he was told, that the assistants were helping out and paying for things and setting the rooms up, the jury could accept there was an association of people, a criminal enterprise, to commit crimes, cover them up, protect Sean Combs, that there was a systematic pattern of abuse of women. I think they've made a case for racketeering beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know. They, my opinion, definitely have proven a case of transportation to engage in prostitution, literally transporting sex workers and alleged victims for the purposes of sex work. There's been a lot of testimony about that. Feels like a more clear-cut case. Sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There seems to be two clear-cut cases. One, the 2016 tape, right? Sean Combs allegedly attacking Cassandra Ventura after a freak-off, dragging her back in the direction there. It fits some of the elements. Another event, Sean Combs on a plane with Cassie, allegedly shows her freak-off tapes. She says she feels threatened. They land. He demands a freak-off. He gets a freak-off. So you have commercial sex, travel, coercion. Jane, sex trafficking, a little more ambiguous. Perhaps the jury would feel she really didn't consent to this, that he was manipulating her, that there were only so many ways she could actually express her reluctance to engage in this. But the jury could also say, her engaging in these sexual activities for a prolonged period of times, how on earth could she actually consent? But not so clean, not so clear-cut based on her messages. And again, I think she helps with transportation to engage in prostitution. So if they rested, maybe even after Jane's testimony, even after KK or D-Rock, assuming they would testify, I think they have enough to convict. Tyler, you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think they have enough to convict on a lot of these charges. And, jurors are weird when they get in that room. Sometimes they think they could possibly throw a bone to the defense by finding not guilty on one of the counts. I think Jane's testimony has been a little more difficult and not as clear-cut with just some of the things that have come out that she's said regarding consent. But you also, like I mentioned earlier, I think that audio recording with Mr. Combs is powerful for the prosecution. But they've done a good job in really narrowing down the facts to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, we're talking about a conviction after we've solely heard the prosecution's case. I assume the defense is going to put up their own case, and they'll try to prove or disprove or show that the prosecution has not proven these charges that they accused Mr. Combs of beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's still early to tell, but overall, I believe the prosecution has done a good job in proving their case, and we just got to see what the defense does next.
Candace, what do you think?
Listen, I think when you add up Eddie Garcia, Capricorn Clark, as well as let's throw in Regina Ventura and that extortion, which you had a corroborated witness from Bad Boy Company talk about how that $20,000 was given to her and taken back. Even though it was taken back, we've got the extortion there. You can look at a culmination of various witnesses to get to this RICO charge. But as you said, will the jury believe it? Do they think that this rises?
That's not what he asked you. He asked you, have they proved it?
On the other hand, the door is still open. On the defense, I am sure we were going to hear about the fact that
she didn't answer the question. She's still trying to.
Was a sex addict. We're going to hear all types of information to contextualize how he treated Cassie, how he treated Mia, how he treated everybody within his
Why she just can't answer the question?
They have done an amazing job, and I think that crossing state lines for the purposes of prostitution, I think even the defense has said, you know what? We know that's a given, that he is going down for that, but that's up to 10 years, and they can kind of deal with that.
We didn't ask you how many years. Oh my God.
Trafficking, extortion, bribery, obstruction of justice. I think that we are there.
Well, that's okay, because William Corman, criminal defense attorney, is definitely going to.
She said, I'll let her say yes.
Right? He's going to say, no way if they've been able to prove any of these crimes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm defense inclined. I always am, but the state has done a brilliant job.
Brilliantly.
You know, the evidence regarding RICO, which as we've talked
about before, it took them a
very
long time for some people to see it.
You know,
I saw it.
Panelists have said, you know, between the Kid Cudi incident with the car, I mean, Jane has provided testimony about drug trafficking. I mean, she's wrapping up packages and bringing them, I think it was ecstasy, bringing them across state lines on an airplane. They really have hit all the high notes. They've done a brilliant job, a Katie Schultz level brilliant job in order proving these individual elements. So I think they've got a problem. And again, as Tyler said before, this is just been the prosecution case so far, and things could shift when the defense gets up there. But I don't know, there's a lot of ground to make up, and
they can't make that up. They can't make that up.
It's going to be a long deliberation process. There is so much for this jury to consider with respect to each one of the alleged victims. I mean, think about it. We put up a poll. Which victim's testimony has had the strongest impact on the government's case? 74% say Cassie, 15% say Jane, and Mia, 9%. Those are really, really interesting numbers, Candace, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, honestly, Capricorn Clark was the one that really kind of had my head spinning, sitting there in court and just her throwing bombshell after bombshell. But we have to look to Cassie. We have to look to her as this tree in the middle that firmly is the foundation for everybody else to kind of branch off of. And for people in that poll to say, hey, listen, she's the most influential. If the jury believes the same thing, well, then again, the prosecution is doing its job because she's the center. Everybody else branches from there in terms of corroborating what she said, and they do so on many, many different levels. Every single witness has come and corroborated something that she says. If you're the jury, you're saying, okay, if I don't believe Cassie, right, and I'm in that 30-something percent, then I don't believe anybody else. And I think that is an impossible feat. She was a very credible witness, an excellent witness to really kick off what has proven to be a mighty strong campaign against Sean Combs by the prosecution.
So, Tyler, here's a really good legal question. This is from I. Takahashi. How is the verdict decided by jurors after the trial? Is there some type of questionnaire for each question that can be provided by prosecutors so that the verdict doesn't come out as unreasonable?
They'll have a jury form that it'll be a simple question. So do you find defendant guilty of sex trafficking or RICO? Check yes or no. And for each charge that he's accused of, the jury would check yes or no. There really can't be an unreasonable verdict. It's either they're going to vote to convict or they're going to vote to quit. And there is a lot regarding jury charges. And that's the big legal issue, is when the judge is explaining the law to the jurors. Right now, you're hearing the presentation of facts and you're hearing examination by lawyers. eventually the judge who's there to decide what evidence gets in will announce the law to the jury, and those jury charges are usually negotiated between the defense and the prosecution, and that's a big part of the case as well. Those jury charges, and then what's actually put on the jury form that the jurors are going to complete at the end of this case.
William, this is a question from Lisa5472. Do you think the defense wanting a mistrial shows they're concerned about their case being weak after all these witnesses?
No, I think the defense is doing what they're supposed to do, which is when evidence comes in that shouldn't come in, and when there's objections which are overruled or sustained that shouldn't be. It's their obligation, to ask for a mistrial. So I'm sure they didn't think that they were going to get a mistrial, but they are preserving the record because if Mr. Combs is convicted, he will have to need to appeal. And when it gets into the appeals court to see whether or not defense attorneys have objected to questions, whether or not they've moved for mistrials at certain points, it's a strategic way to look at the long game rather than anticipating that the judge is going to decide that there's a mistrial and throw this thing out mid-trial.
And look, for the defense, they're trying to battle away against this concept that this wasn't consensual, right? And the messages, the audio messages that have been played in the court, and now that we have a copy of them, what do they tell us? So here is a message from November 2022. This is from Diddy to Jane, and this apparently is his response to Jane's feelings towards hotel nights, where she wrote him, "I need a breather and a break from you. This doesn't make me feel good at all. You don't deserve me." Let's listen to what Combs had to say.
Yeah, that's my friend. I'm in Miami. I don't have a lot of friends out here, okay? She asked me if she could work out with me. I said, okay. You gotta believe what you want. This is the last time you're gonna be cursing at me, disrespecting me over nothing. Like I'm a human being. I'm not gonna lock myself up in a room and have no friends. I don't have a bunch of guy friends. I already told you that. And she just came over to work out. But I'm not going to be explaining. It don't matter if I just got finished the other day. I'm single. I could do whatever the I want to, but I didn't. You're straight flipping out on me, and I told you that you had one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever the you want to do. Okay, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve being honest with somebody. And then every time they see somebody around, they like, I'm doing something, so I'm working out.
So, look, Tyler, does that help the prosecution show he was deceptive, he was manipulative, he was using lies, false pretenses to get what he wanted, or is that a stretch? Is this just a message that you would hear in any sort of unhealthy, toxic relationship? Is it just about a relationship? You tell me what we make up from these audio recordings.
That particular audio recording, I think, is a stretch for the government to show that's manipulation and coercion into getting Jane to perform these freak-offs and sex acts. It sounds more to me like Mr. Combs said, he's a single man, but he also still wants to be in communication with Jane. So he's telling her that this other girl is really nobody to worry about, that they were just working out and Jane is overreacting and she needs to stop doing that or he's going to walk away. It sounds to me like he's just trying to have his cake and eat it, and he's trying to keep her around. I don't think that shows that he manipulated her into performing freak-offs. The other video or audio that we heard was more powerful, but this one seems more like a nothing burger, if you ask me.
Question for you, Candace. This is from Blessing Eek, and this is a fair question for Sean Combs being charged with racketeering conspiracy. And yet he's the only one charged, right? He has to have a criminal agreement with somebody. This criminal enterprise. But this is the question with Blessing Eek. If Christina Courtroom doesn't testify and doesn't get charged as a co-conspirator, wouldn't it be viewed as an unfair prosecution of Diddy as a solo defendant in a RICO conspiracy case?
Well, not necessarily. Why? Because you have other people that have received immunity that have conspired and have been a part of this. Okay,
Right.
So in that case, you have people that are really a part of the RICO that we're talking about. On paper, it's just Sean Combs. But when we think about the RICO statute and why it exists in order to kind of get around that crime boss loophole and get to the crime boss, well, RICO has done what it's supposed to do. prosecutors have used it the way that they are supposed to use it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, just Sean Combs on the paper means that there's no conspiracy and that there's nobody else involved. We've been hearing weeks of people who have been involved. They've gotten immunity or you know, made other deals in order to make sure that they don't become a part of this, you know, RICO on paper, but two different things, and both can coexist. It is okay that he's the only one on that paper.
Yep, it's interesting what the jury might take away from it, but we'll see if KK testifies. Okay, William, over to you. This is from Miss Robinson. Does anyone know how he can be guilty on the prostitution charge if he didn't profit from it? If he didn't profit from it?
He paid for it.
And the women were willing participants?
That's a multi-layered question. I think that we have heard testimony that while he hasn't actually profited financially from it, he did engage the services of these escorts, these male escorts, to have sex with people like Jane, have sex with people like Cassie. So I think that certainly did engage in prostitution. He's not necessarily charged exclusively with sex trafficking, but he obviously engaged in prostitution. He was giving money to these folks in order to have them engage in sexual acts with Cassie and Jane, as we've heard.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because they are, especially with the, didn't you get the sense, Candace, from, you mentioned it before, the former CFO, the guy who headed up the Combs finances, there was an element where they're trying to talk how profitable and how strong the businesses were. Maybe to suggest, hey, he's using company resources to, you know, facilitate crimes. Or is it to say, if Sean Combs is benefiting from a racketeering conspiracy, right? If he's benefiting from these illegal acts, if he's benefiting from a pattern of abusing women, look how good his businesses are doing, right? There has to be something there.
Yeah, you know, what I think the CFO did was two-pronged. One, for the defense side, it said, listen, there are all of these other businesses that were actually involved in his everyday goings-on. There were a lot of collaborative efforts. There were a lot of things going on with the liquor companies. So he couldn't, on his own, be making all of these decisions on his own as one singular crime boss, as one single person involved in this RICO racketeering effort. I think that that's what worked for the defense. On the prosecution side, I think it said, well, listen, every single thing that you have been doing, let's talk about the forced labor. Well, if you're not paying somebody for their forced labor, but the work that they're doing is actually making you money, i.e. Capricorn Clark, for example, well, then that is something that you profited from, that you try to make somebody work for free. So I see it going both ways, that it works for the prosecution and the defense, and that definitely when you're looking at everything that he does on a day-to-day, that his company is benefiting from it overall, or all of his companies. And I think that that's what happens when we look at RICO. Is anybody benefiting on any level? As you said, it doesn't have to be tangible money. Is there a benefit that someone is doing something under your direction and you are deriving something from it? I think that answer is yes.
Tyler, we got a question here from Tia215. Why are they not bringing young Miami in, Jesse? I think she knows a lot. Now, my understanding, she had dated Sean Combs. My understanding, Tyler, she has been mentioned in at least one lawsuit. And here's what's also interesting about it.
She was also dating him up until the time that he was arrested.
It was the Little Rod Jones lawsuit. But she was dating him. She was asked about all of these allegations after all the news broke. And she basically said that she was deeply hurt and shocked after watching the video of Combs beating up Cassie. That was not my experience at all, she said. It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times of your life, but sometimes you got to do that. Oh, that's Combs said that, actually. My apologies. But yeah, but no, she said that was not my experience at all. And I'm reading a People magazine article about it from August 2024, so before his arrest. Seems to me, Tyler, maybe she'll be a defense witness.
I was just about to mention that she could possibly be a defense witness to show that this pattern that the government is trying to say existed did not exist.
I actually created
because she was still in the love bombing stages.
Sleeping. I absolutely love sweet sleeping.
Similarities between just young Miami and Miss Ventura, if you're thinking artists, both were artists.
She was still being love bombed.
Women,
Okay,
both are
let's be
younger
clear.
than Mr. Combs, and both could be deemed to be impressionable. And Young Miami went on the record and said that that was not her experience with Mr. Combs. And it also could be that she, knowing that wasn't her experience, the prosecution doesn't feel like she would add anything to further their case. If anything, she breaks that link if Mr. Combs did not treat her any way similar than he did Jane, and he treated Miss Ventura and the other victims that testified so far.
And I think that's, you know, it's kind of up in the air because we don't have an actual, it's a sealed list, so we don't know who's going to be called, but we're speculating about who might actually help the defense's case, if they even need to call anyone. If the name of the game is trying to say, accepting all of these allegations is true, accepting he had these wild nights or these freak-offs or debauchery nights, domestic violence, weird sexual relationship, doesn't mean racketeering, doesn't mean sex trafficking, and really trying to strike at the credibility of these witnesses. And I think, William, they have been doing quite a good job of cross-examining a lot of the women who have testified against them. We'll see what the jury makes of it, but they're doing their job. You said they're doing their job before. They're doing their job cross-examining these witnesses.
They sure are. And again, you know, one of the things that we have in this is that each of these witnesses has such a giant digital footprint. I mean, we have text messages, we have audio messages. So there's enough here for the defense to figure out exactly, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more of that.
Yeah, Tyler, got a question coming in. So anybody, we're going to be answering questions for the next 15 minutes or so. If you have any questions about today's testimony, what's been happening so far, throw them in. We'll answer them as quickly as we can. This is a question from Danny, Tyler. Since Diddy is still paying Jane's rent, could that be considered witness tampering?
No.
Good question. I don't think so. If this is witness tampering, then Diddy needs a refund of his attempt to tamper with her, because she's still saying stuff that's hurting him. I mean, her reluctancy to say that she actually consented. Now, if she went up there and said that her consent meant consent, maybe I could see that this has been a good investment on Diddy continuing to pay her rent. But the fact that she's got up there and she said all the things that she said to hurt him, I don't think this would be a good business decision for Mr. Combs to use that $10,000 a month as payment for certain testimony that's going to help his case.
Candace, question from Never Be. Is there a reason they didn't call Aubrey? I mean, I'm assuming they mean Aubrey O'Day, right?
Oh, sure. Well, you know, she may not have been needed. You know, sometimes overkill is just overkill. If you've made your point, why water it down even further? And you never know what a witness is going to say. She could ended up being like another Jane, where you have this ambivalence and you leave thinking, well, wait, I'm not sure exactly what she's saying, and are we there yet? So if they think that they've made their point already with the other witnesses, why call even more? It's kind of the same reason why people are asking, well, where's Neo and where's Usher? Sometimes too much is just too much. Have you made your point? Well, then that's enough. Let's not take a chance.
Got a question from Stella. How long till we see the witnesses for the defense? Love this coverage. Well, thank you so much. We're waiting to see the end of the prosecution's case, and probably at the end of court every day we'll get an understanding of how much longer the prosecution's case is, who they intend to call next. And there is going to be a day when they say we have one more witness or two more witnesses we expect to end by this day. Then the defense will try to end this case, right? Right, William? They will try to end this case immediately, make sure it doesn't even go to the jury, explain what that is, and also explain why I think I'm confident in saying that's not going to be successful. But what happens after the prosecution ends their case?
Sure, when the prosecution rests,
it's not going to be successful. Let's be clear.
The judge to declare that
too much evidence,
or the government didn't prove their case. Essentially, you're filing a motion for what's called a directed verdict. And what you basically are arguing to the judge is, look, even in the light most favorable to the government, even if you're taking
William, sorry, I think you're cutting out. Your connection's a little bad. I'm gonna have to jump in. Tyler, I'll throw that to you. So what happens again at the end of the prosecution's case, and why I don't think it's going to be successful?
Yeah, and picking up from where William was saying, he was saying that the defense will make a motion for a directed verdict, saying that prosecution simply failed to prove any of their charges that they're accusing Mr. Combs of, and that there's no evidence essentially that he's guilty of these charges. Generally, that seldom works in the case of this magnitude, and that motion will likely be denied by the judge, and then the defense will move forward with their case if they intend to bring a case, which I'm pretty sure Mr. Combs would have brought this team if they weren't going to present a case of their own.
Hey, Candace, question from Jeannie Forever. You think prosecutors and defense are watching this show for a sense of how they're doing and where they go for their questioning?
Oh, I bet they are. And listen, if they're not, since they can't talk to the jurors, they need to watch something to get a sense. What are people saying? What are people doing out there, one way or the other? And how are we doing our jobs? Because they don't know. Amongst themselves, of course, they're saying they were doing a good job. But you don't know until you hear from other people out in the world. I'm sure they're looking at everything on TV to figure out what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong. Because for now, we are the jurors that they can actually listen to and make some assessment from.
Well, Jay Lee says, this is great coverage. This panel is amazing. So thank you so much. So clearly Jay Lee likes this. We'll see if the prosecutors and the defense agree. The jurors shouldn't be watching. The jurors shouldn't be watching. That's the only group we don't want as an audience, right? Okay, this is a great question from ATX Stanley, and I'm going to throw it to you, Tyler. So far, have you seen any issues in the last 19 days of trial that could possibly be used in an appellate brief if he's convicted? So are there potential appeal issues that you're seeing that you say, you know what, that is going to be a prime issue to bring up? His rights were violated. This was an unfair trial, something prejudicial. Anything you see?
The biggest issue that I've seen would have been the video when Mia, I believe, was testifying on the stand, that they said would lend others to believe that she's completely acting as a different person on the stand that day. And me saying that is just the assumption of what I could draw inferences of from the sidebar arguments that you heard from the lawyers as to why the evidence should have been admitted. That evidence, I believe, ultimately was precluded from being presented in the case because the court found it to be duplicative of all the other social media evidence that was entered into. But it seemed like the defense wanted to use it for a different reason. And I think that was the biggest piece for appeal that I've seen so far, outside of some other issues I may not be aware of.
Well, look, I think the idea that what they filed for the mistrial, basically saying, oh, the witnesses, the jury is considering perjured testimony, it's just completely unfair. I imagine that's something they're going to say. But look, that's their opinion of the testimony. It's a matter of fact if the jury believes when any of these witnesses are not telling the truth. Which is, oh, here, I got a follow-up question for you, Tyler. This is from Blessing Eek. Can the charges be split between directed verdict and jury verdict? Again, the idea about taking it, the defense jumping in and saying this shouldn't go to the jury.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, they could move for a directed verdict on particular charges. That could be specifically done. Generally, what happens on the directed verdict, though, you have a defense lawyer make an argument for a directed verdict on all the charges. Strategically, it could be favorable, I guess, to try to split it up if the prosecution just has not done a good job, or that they don't believe they've done a good job, for example, on RICO or sex trafficking. They could do that, but generally, more times than not, it's just a directed verdict on all the charges that the government's bringing.
We have a poll up. Who would you want to see on the stand next? 76% say Christina Courtroom, 23% say D-Rock. But clearly, you have two individuals who seemingly play major roles in this saga. I do believe Christina Courtroom, is somebody that is very, very important, just based on the fact that the prosecution hasn't missed an opportunity to bring her up in every witness who's testified. All right, this is, okay, so this is from Cecilia Boggle. I throw this to you, Candace. Will Sean Combs testify?
Well, you know, you mentioned Christina Courtroom. That's a very good segue into answering that question. And that if Christina Courtroom testifies, I predict she's going to throw it all on Sean. And at that point, I think that he will have to think even more seriously about testifying if it is not a good idea. I mean, think about his testimony in a sense already in terms of his apology tape that he had time to prepare for. How did that come off? He would not only have to answer to that, but he'd have to answer to every single thing that a witness says. But I think that if she testifies once again, if she pins it all on him, he might think this is going to be my only saving grace. Because now you have this woman over here who we know has been there every step of the way, probably going to make a very good witness too. That's just my guess. And he's going to feel on the defense. I think his ego would probably kick in. And I think that he probably would much more strongly consider testifying if she goes for the jugular and puts it all on him. Absolutely.
You gotta wonder his judgment, though. Like you said, the judgment to make an apology video on Instagram 2 days after CNN published that video. It painted his defense, it painted his arguments in a corner. So you wonder if it really would serve him to do this. But I'll throw up another follow-up question to you, Candace. This is from Ray Bishop. Goes to the idea of the defense. Will they use the lack of violence with Jane? Which, by the way, there's a caveat. I would say as of yet. As of yet. We don't know what's coming out in the next course of the day. Will they use the lack of violence with Jane as a way to poke holes in Cassie and her friend's story by making it seem contrived?
You know, I think they definitely will say, all right, there was no violence when you compare it to all these other people, they're hanging out of the window and Mia's door, her being slammed in the door. But I do think that saying it was contrived, I think that that's a long way to go in terms of just continuing to say, oh, they're lying, they're lying, they're lying. I think at first, when the defense would say, okay, aren't you lying? Isn't this a money grab? Isn't that not the truth? It worked a little bit, but I think that that's kind of worn off. The fact that there is no violence, as you said, we have yet to see that with Jane, but Jane is just one person. Every single other person, every single witness almost has testified to some violence who was in his inner circle. And I think that they've already made the point. So Jane, she goes either way. I think that even if the jury does not believe her at all, I think they still have enough and that it may not even make that much of a difference.
They most definitely have proved their case. I mean, they did that a couple of weeks ago.
Final thoughts, and let me throw it to you, Tyler. As a final thought, this is a question from Sar to Sav. Surely the prosecution knew that Jane's testimony was flawed, given she said she consented. Why would they still put her as a major witness? Is there a strategy here?
Consent, and she changed her mind.
Charge with her.
People,
and I think that
why do people act like a woman don't have a right to change their mind?
The game for a reason, because they know she's not the star witness, not the strongest witness, but she's a victim. And I think if this prosecution is truly doing this for the right reason, you know, they believe that all victims should be heard and they should have justice should be brought on those who abuse and commit crimes against others. So she is flawed, but many times in cases like this,
let me say this.
They're not Cinderellas. The story is murky.
Again, I'm going to say this. I see why a lot of people, and I don't want to just say men, are in jail or in prison. I see why a lot of, I'm going to say men, majority men, don't look at this as trafficking or racketeering. That's because there are a lot of men operate in this. That's because there is a lot of men operate in this case. I don't understand what you're saying, Barbara. I mean, are you trying to say a lot of men operate? I don't understand what you're trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I see why a lot of men, majority men, fall victim to this. Because, and why they don't want to see it as trafficking or what have you. At any time a person, male or female, change their mind, it is no longer, there are more men on the case than women. But what are you trying to say? There are more men on the case than women. Right now, I'm basing it off of the question that came in that said to somebody, why if she was a willing participant. She started out being a willing participant, but she was only a willing participant to being his freak. His freak. He changed the rules to the game. She went along with it at some point, but she was always clear that that's not what she wanted. So to say that means that you don't recognize coercion, you don't recognize manipulation. See, it may be okay to you to go around manipulating people, lying and being deceptive. But they switching these rules up on y'all type people who think that that's okay. To trick somebody into getting what you want. That's fraud. That's fraud. And so in your mind, you may be saying, and I mean, she should know I'm lying. Well, that's why there's a lot of people that's locked up, because they don't know that the law supersedes how you feel. You can't deceive. That's like and I am the world's worst with the bait and switch. I cannot stand an old car salesman mindset person. I can't stand people like that. That means that you can't get something legitimately. You have to trick people into getting it. Your skills ain't smooth enough, tight enough, wise enough to just put it out there. Straight, no chaser. You gotta switch it. You gotta bait and switch. I can't stand people like that. You're a liar and a deceiver. And you know, when you let Laquita tell you, you ain't got no skills. You ain't about that. Ooh, Lord, that nose went up. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I can't stand her. I got a sister. Ooh, my God. My God, my God, my God. I love her, but she queen of bait and switch. That's why I know it when I see it. Because I recognize my sister. She'll bait you in. Ooh, that picture will be picture perfect. Have you thinking that you finna be a multi-millionaire. Now, she may be one. She may be one. Yeah. But the whole disguise is to bait you in so that you can invest in. Yeah. So, miss me with that. There are laws against that. And if she keep on, her ass gonna be locked up in the federal penitentiary too. That's the truth, and it's gonna set you free. All it takes is people to put together a class action lawsuit. It's just what that is. Again, I'm gonna say, I don't care who it is. People I know, because I know a lot of bait and switchers, just not in that regards. But there are laws against a deceptive practice. And if you got to lie to kick it, a lie and manipulate to get it, then you are a deceiver. And jail is where you need to be. That's just my point to it. And a person has the right to change their mind, especially when you manipulated them into what you manipulated them into. He tricked her. So she changed her mind. So it's not a clear case. No, she can change her mind at any time. Especially when you lied to bait her in. Period. AunTeaFee, did you just call out your sister? Ooh, I got a whole bunch of them. If you know, you know.
And oftentimes I've seen it where prosecutors have dropped cases when they're deserving victims, despite how flawed they are. Drop the case and not allow.
Yeah, Barbara, but I don't listen, Barbara. You wanted to make it be about a male. I'm talking about period. 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 How I feel is not sex generated. It's just not. Right now, this case is about this. And I don't care how many men are on there. Yes, they may look at it as if that's normal, but there are laws in place. And at the end, they will have directions. I mean, I don't quite understand where you're going with that. Deception, period, to me, is male or female. I don't give a shit what you are. You can be hell both. You can be in the midst of changing. I don't care. But yes, I know that it's a male that they're trying to. It's still the laws. The law is the law. There are female imps out there. There are females out there who are manipulative and do things in that. There are a lot of females who are used as madams to groom. I said that about his mama. So what are you saying? The rules still apply to whether it's a male or a female. And if his mama baited him into it and groomed him into it, they need to bring her ass up on charges too. There are females out there who pimp their daughters. What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. Right now we talking about him, and I was responding to the question. Where you coming from? You need to break that down, because I don't understand what you're trying to say. Oh, okay. There are female pimps out there.
Despite how flawed she is, I do commend the prosecution as a defense lawyer for still giving her an opportunity to have her voice heard and the jury making the decision whether they believe her.
Couldn't on his own be making all of these decisions on his own as one singular crime boss, as one single person involved in this RICO racketeering effort. I think that's what worked for the defense. On the prosecution side, I think it said, well, listen, every single thing that you have been doing.
It blew my mind that people didn't understand what a Romeo pimp was.
But the work that
there's a lot of pimping going on.
Your money, i.e. Capricorn Clark, for example. Well, then that is something that you profited from, that you tried to make somebody work for free. So I see it going both ways, that it works for the prosecution and the defense, and that definitely when you're looking at everything that he does on a day-to-day, that his company is benefiting from it overall, or all of his companies. And I think that that's what happens when we look at RICO. Is anybody benefiting on any level? As you said, it doesn't have.
They don't have to call his mama.
Is there a benefit that
they're not gonna call everybody that's involved?
Direction, and you are deriving something from it. I think that answer is yes.
Tyler,
they didn't build their case around his mama.
Why are they not bringing young Miami in, Jesse? I think she knows a lot. Now, my understanding, she had dated Sean Combs. My understanding, Tyler, she has been mentioned in at least one lawsuit. And here's what's also interesting about it, and not necessarily as a defendant, if I don't remember that correctly.
There are a whole bunch of other people I would have rather them bring in here and wondering why they haven't, but that's not how the feds built this case up.
That she was deeply hurt and shocked after watching the video of Combs beating up Cassie. That was not my experience at all, she said. It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times of your life, but sometimes you got to do that. Oh, that's Combs. Combs said that, actually. My apologies. But yeah, but no, she said that was not my experience at all. And I'm reading a People magazine article about it from August 2024, so before his arrest. It seems to me, Tyler, maybe she'll be a defense witness.
I was just about to mention that she could possibly be a defense witness to show that this pattern.
Oh yeah, they brought in everybody.
say existed did not exist.
All right, come with me. I'm going to show you why oats overnight is your new favorite breakfast. It all starts with high quality ingredients.
Oh, I tried
A lot of similarities between just Young Miami and Miss Ventura. If you're thinking artists, both were artists. Both are a beautiful woman. Both are younger than Mr. Combs, and both could be deemed to be impressionable. And Young Miami went on the record, said that that was not her experience with Mr. Combs. And it also could be that she, knowing that wasn't her experience, the prosecution doesn't feel like she would add anything to further their case. If anything, she breaks that link if Mr. Combs did not treat her any way similar than he did Jane, and he treated Miss Ventura and the other victims that have testified so far.
And I think that's, you know, it's kind of up in the air because we don't have an actual, it's a sealed list, so we don't know who's going to be called, but we're speculating about who might actually help the defense's case, if they even need to call anyone. If the name of the game is trying to say, accepting all of these allegations is true, accepting he had these wild nights or these freak-offs or debauchery nights, domestic violence, weird sexual relationship, doesn't mean racketeering, doesn't mean sex trafficking, and really trying to strike at the credibility of these witnesses. And I think, William, they have been doing quite a good job of cross-examining a lot of the women who have testified against them. We'll see what the jury makes of it, but they're doing their job. You said they're doing their job before. They're doing their job cross-examining these witnesses.
They sure are. And again, you know, one of the things that we have in this guide, each of these witnesses has such a giant digital footprint. I mean, we have text messages, we have audio to prove their case. Essentially, you're filing a motion for what's called a directed verdict. And what you basically are arguing to the judge is, look, even in the light most favorable to the government, even if you're taking
we listen to and make some assessment from.
Well, Jay Lee says, this is great coverage. This panel is amazing. So thank you so much. So clearly Jay Lee likes this. We'll see if the prosecutors and the defense agree. The jurors shouldn't be watching. The jurors shouldn't be watching. That's the only group we don't want as an audience, right? Okay, this is a great question from ATX Stanley, and I'm going to throw it to you, Tyler. So far, have you seen any issues in the last 19 days of trial that could possibly be used in an appellate brief if he's convicted? So are there potential appeal issues that you're seeing that you say, you know what, that is going to be a prime issue to bring up? His rights were violated. This was an unfair trial, something prejudicial. Anything you see?
The biggest issue that I've seen would have been the video when Mia, I believe, was testifying on the stand, that they said would lend others to believe that she's completely acting as a different person on the stand that day. And me saying that is just the assumption of what I could draw inferences of from the sidebar arguments that you heard from the lawyers as to why the evidence should have been admitted. That evidence, I believe, ultimately was precluded from being presented in the case because the court found it to be duplicative of all the other social media evidence that was entered into. But it seemed like the defense wanted to use it for a different reason. And I think that was the biggest piece for appeal that I've seen so far, outside of some other issues I may not be aware of.
Well, look, I think the idea that what they filed for the mistrial, basically saying, oh, the witnesses, the jury is considering perjured testimony, it's just completely unfair. I imagine that's something they're going to say. But look, that's their opinion of the testimony. It's a matter of fact if the jury believes when any of these witnesses are not telling the truth. Which is, oh, here, I got a follow-up question for you, Tyler. This is from Blessing Eek. Can the charges be split between directed verdict and jury verdict? Again, the idea about taking it, the defense jumping in and saying this shouldn't go to the jury.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, they could move for a directed verdict on particular charges. That could be specifically done. Generally, what happens on the directed verdict, though, you have a defense lawyer make an argument for a directed verdict on all the charges. Strategically, it could be favorable, I guess, to try to split it up if the prosecution just has not done a good job, or that they don't believe they've done a good job, for example, on RICO or sex trafficking. They could do that, but generally, more times than not, it's just a directed verdict on all the charges that the government's bringing.
We have a poll up. Who would you want to see on the stand next? 76% say Christina Coram, 23% say D-Rock. But clearly you have two individuals who seemingly play major roles in this saga. I do believe Christina Courtroom, is somebody that is very, very important, just based on the fact that the prosecution hasn't missed an opportunity to bring her up in every witness who's testified. All right, this is, okay. So this is from Cecilia Bogle. I throw this to you, Candace. Will Sean Combs testify?
Well, you know, you mentioned Christina Courtroom. That's a very good segue into answering that question. And that if Christina Courtroom testifies, I predict she's going to throw it all on Sean. And at that point, I think that he will have to think even more seriously about testifying if he isn't already. Obviously, it is not a good idea. I mean, think about his testimony in a sense already in terms of his apology tape that he had time to prepare for. How did that come off? He would not only have to answer to that, but he'd have to answer to every single thing that a witness says. But I think that if she testifies once again, if she pins it all on him, he might think this is going to be my only saving grace. Because now you have this woman over here who has been there every step of the way, probably going to make a very good witness too. That's just my guess. And he's going to feel on the defense. I think his ego would probably kick in. And I think that he probably would much more strongly consider testifying if she goes for the jugular and puts it all on him. Absolutely.
You gotta wonder his judgment, though. Like you said, the judgment to make an apology video on Instagram 2 days after CNN published that video. It painted his defense, it painted his arguments in a corner. So you wonder if it really would serve him to do this. But I'll throw up another follow-up question to you, Candace. This is from Ray Bishop. Goes to the idea of the defense. Will they use the lack of violence with Jane? Which, by the way, there's a caveat. I would say as of yet. As of yet, we don't know what's coming out in the next course of the day. Will they use the lack of violence with Jane as a way to poke holes in Cassie and her friend's story by making it seem contrived?
They may, but
you know, I think they definitely will say, all right, there was no violence when you compare it to all these other people, the hanging out of the window and Mia's door her being slammed in the door. But I do think that saying it was contrived, I think that that's a long way to go in terms of just continuing to say, oh, they're lying. I think at first, when the defense would say, okay, aren't you lying? Isn't this a money grab? Isn't that not the truth? It worked a little bit, but I think that that's kind of worn off. The fact that there is no violence, as you said, we have yet to see that with Jane, but Jane is just one person. Every single other person, every single witness, almost, has testified to some violence who was in his inner circle. And I think that they've already made the point. So Jane, she goes either way. I think that even if the jury does not believe her at all, I think they still have enough and that it may not even make that much of a difference.
Okay. So, by the way, there was no court update. They still haven't started back up again, so that's interesting. But I'm going to get some final thoughts, and let me throw it to you, Tyler.
Next
As a final thought,
Diddy
this is a
Combs
question
back
from
on the stand today, giving graphic and disturbing testimony in the sex trafficking racketeering trial against the rap mogul, using the pseudonym Jane. She's testifying she was forced into drug-fueled sexual encounters with male prostitutes that could last for days. It comes after jurors actually heard recordings of Combs' voice for the very first time. Prosecutors played 3 recordings allegedly sent from Combs to Jane. Here's a portion of one of them.
Single, I could do whatever I want to, but I didn't. You're straight flipping out on me, and I told you that you had one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever you want to do.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His legal team says all sexual encounters were consensual. For more, let's bring in legal contributor and trial attorney Brian Buckmeyer. So, Brian, what's the significance of these audio recordings, you think, and will they be effective?
Hi, Jersey.
So, Kira, for the most part, we've been hearing whether it be AUSA Comey, the lead prosecutor in the case, and Jane reading text messages, but we're also hearing, as you play, some of the audio clips, whether it be audio notes that Sean Combs left for Jane, or if it was a recording, actually, for 2 of them, actually, recording of Sean Combs talking to Jane close in time to when the Cassie lawsuit came out. And what I think it does, it gives color to the argument that the government's making here, that Sean Combs is either love-bombing Jane or attempting to reach out to her at a time that he knows law enforcement is looking to indict him on the charges he's facing now, to kind of do damage control. Make sure that she understands that this relationship was consensual, that this is something they both wanted to do, highlighting that she was getting many of these entertainers or male escorts. And so I think for the government, this is very helpful for their case. but I do think the defense might have a different interpretation of this. Cross-examination for them likely to start tomorrow with Jane.
So you've been inside the courtroom. What has Combs' demeanor been like during Jane's testimony?
So the Combs of last week is very different of the Combs of this week. Don't forget that Sean Combs was told that he cannot be doing anything that might influence the jury through that vigorous head nodding or shaking of his head in testimony that he either likely agreed with or disagreed with, and doing so in a very entertaining way, let's say, towards the
I'm sorry.
jury. Now he's much more laid back. He's kind of pushed back in his seat. He's listening to Jane on the stand testify. When there's opportunities to have the text messages or other piece of evidence shown on the video, you can see him put on his glasses, really scoot up close to Teddy Garagos to his right, and who is also going to be cross-examining Jane, and then looking at the evidence on the screen and participating in his defense. I think he's trying to point out his interpretation of some of these messages and also help Teddy Garagos prepare for her cross-examination.
And Combs' defense team has asked for a mistrial twice now. Even if a mistrial is unlikely, what's the strategy behind it?
So there are two reasons why you would ask for a mistrial in any sense. The first being that perhaps they could stack up on each other. One individual mistrial argument might not be the one to have this case fall apart or fall in favor for the defense, but if there are multiple issues, a judge may second guess the third, fourth, fifth mistrial application and may actually grant it. The other and probably more likely reason is if Sean Combs is convicted of any or all of the crimes, when they go to appeal, they want to make sure they what's called preserve the issue. Because if they don't raise the issue of mistrial during the trial phase, they will not be able to raise it at the appellate stage, and so they might be hoping for a more favorable judge who's not just going to look at one or two applications for mistrial, but if they're hopeful and lucky they get more down the road, a judge on the appellate level will look at multiple mistrial motions, and they're hoping for a beneficial result at that time.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you. And for more on the Combs trial, you can catch ABC News Live. Our show, Burden of Proof, the case against Diddy.
She got that one wrong as well. That's that boy mama. He looked just like him.
Surely the prosecution knew that Jane's testimony was flawed, given she said she consented. Why would they still put her as a major witness? Is there a strategy here?
I think that they're looking to prove this sex trafficking charge with her, and I think that she's called. We're at week 5 of the trial. It's late in the game for a reason, because they know she's not the star witness, not the strongest witness, but she's a victim. And I think if this prosecution is truly doing this for the right reason, you know, they believe that all victims should be heard and they should have justice should be brought on those who abuse and commit crimes against others. So she is flawed, but many times in cases like this, victims are flawed. They're not Cinderellas. The story is murky. And oftentimes I've seen it where prosecutors have dropped cases when they're deserving victims, despite how flawed they are, drop the case and not allow them that opportunity to bring their story to a jury. So despite how flawed she is, I do commend the prosecution as the defense lawyer for still giving her an opportunity to have her voice heard and the jury making the decision whether they believe her or not.
Candace, I'll throw it to you. Final question. This is from Enlin DK. Why are the prosecution not pulling up his apology video to show he lies?
You know, we haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure exactly why they haven't done that. That would be a very strong thing to do. However, we have other information and other witnesses to show that he has lied, right? So, and it's something that they may not even need to point to. I'm surprised they haven't pulled it yet. It's not over, but it's something that the door is still open to.
All right. Well, the conversation continues. The debate continues. First of all, I want to thank William Corman. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to ask him more questions, tech issues. Internet was not great, but appreciate it, William. And Tyler Bailey, Candace Kelly, thank you so much. As one of the viewers said, all-star panel, great panel. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your insight. And everyone out there, thank you so much for your amazing questions. As always, we plan to do this lunchtime show for you each and every day of this trial. We don't want you to miss anything. I'll see you next time. I'm Jesse Weber. Have a great rest of your day.
Where my likes at? Are we finna end this? Or do y'all have? Any y'all get my likes up. And if you have questions, just go ahead and put them on a super chat. Super sticker. Please. Yeah, where my likes at?
The way we work and the way we do it is changing. At DoorDash for Business, we're here as an
Day 19 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial has already kicked off, and I have the morning transcript. Again, these are going to be short notes. Some of this is going to be typos. Some things won't make any sense. Now, I do a full recap right after this, so I give you more details of what is being said. This is just what he can write down in real time as things are being, or as things are going on, as things are being said on in the courtroom. So just understand, you may not get the full picture for you guys who are new, but it will all come together, especially once you'll get most of it, but then it'll all come together once I do my recap. So let's start out. Okay, now, U.S. versus Sean Combs, day 19, with Jane still on direct. Issues about anonymity, I can never say that word, Inner City Press is covering the trial. All right. Before jurors end, I have the defense's motion to dismiss, but the government has said they will respond today. I don't have anything from them yet, so we'll address it tomorrow, along with whether Dr. Hughes can be recalled. Motion. That's the motion. With that said, let me see lead counsel in the robing room. So Matthew wants to know, when it's in brackets, that's his notes, saying what is being discussed. The issues around the order on pseudonyms. Did Jane's counsel ever submit her list of publishers? No indication in the docket despite this. So he's been advocating and even got the judge to force them to start putting things in a public docket because it was not being updated. And Matthew has been saying this, he's never seen this in a trial before. And he covers all the big cases in the Southern District of New York, including Ghislaine Maxwell. So and for him to say that, you know, for him to have to petition the judge to make sure things are put in the public docket, and for this to happen, he said he's never experienced this, something weird is really going on. And he's been doing this for years. So believe him when he says something. 9:18, jury been brought in. All right, Jane, you are still under oath. Good morning, Jane. So AUSA is the prosecutors. Good morning, Ms. Comey. Publish this photo to the jury, but not the screen in the public gallery. Who is this? Sean's security. And this? Sean's deputy butler. Who did you call ATL? The entertainer Sly, because he lived in Atlanta. Your message to Sean, what was it about? My trip to New York in 2023. He wrote, send me some shite of you being bad. Then Sean says, I got the phones. Just send me what I don't have. Don't say no to me, please. What did you write? I wrote, you are traveling with our phone? You mean not Sean's 2 main phones? Yes, his assistants had access to those. I wrote, you using this to get your D hard for someone else. And he said, you. What did you say? And I think he's referring to, or this is saying that she's saying you're using this to get your D hard for someone else, but he's saying, no, it's for you. And then what did you say? I wrote, I'm not coming to New York. You just want me there for a hotel binge. Why did you say that? I saw a podcast. What about? About Sean bragging about having sex for 48 hours straight on a yacht trip to an island near Miami. When did the podcast air? A month after Sean said he'd take me on that yacht trip. What had Sean said he'd do with you on this yacht trip? Objection overruled. That after a 2-day hotel night, we go and do more on the yacht, but we never left. Had to recuperate. I saw on social media he took a girlfriend there. What did you write in your notes app? I wrote, I don't want to come to New York to be treated like a hoe. Why did you write this in your notes app? I wasn't sure I was going to send it. But did you send a version of it? Yes. What did Sean reply? He said, it was just podcast talk. I said, you took her to the Bahamas on a yacht, not me, like you promised after the hotel night. Can you read your text? I quoted him on the podcast. You made Papa proud. You wrote, I don't want to feel obligated, that you'll stop paying my rent. What did you mean? The guilt trippy things that he would say, that I had to perform. For how long had you felt that? Since I got the home in April of 2023. Play this exhibit. Combs' voice. This is a true open relationship. Why do you have to make it a problem? Now I'm sick. How did you reply to this voice message? Call me back. Then we had a FaceTime. He said all the things to calm me down. What did you send Sean from the plane to New York? A photo of my outfit. Were you planning to wear it? To dinner. What did Sean send you? He said, we're going to dinner. Did you? A late night lounge thing. I'll read this for you. You wrote, I miss Hard D. And I wrote, yes, I have my passport with me. Then what did you write? I wrote, you turned me on so crazy. Can't wait. After the flight took off, I got a message from Sean. What did Sean ask you? Where Sly was. Then he asked, entertainment or movie night? Let me know. I'll get a hotel. How did you react? I felt upset and a little defeated. What did you send next? Baby, just got Wi-Fi again. What did Sean write? He said, check red phone. The other message he'd sent me. He said, I have a surprise for you. Just one. What did you take that to me? That there'd be somebody new. And then she's crying. Who? An entertainer. I hated it. The entertainers, that's what she's calling it, and the hotel nights. Hotel nights are freak-offs, and entertainers are male escorts. What did Sean send you? A picture of the man. I rolled my eyes. I wrote back, it's not loading. We're landing now. What did you send Sean? I suggested we go to Casa Cipriani, but I was driven to the Trump Hotel. I put on my outfit. What happened that night? He was late. We went to that lounge. We bickered a bit. He was defensive, but we went to the room and Sly came. What did you text to Sly? I asked if he could come to New York. I felt I needed to make it up to Sean. Did he come to the Trump Hotel, and did you and he have sex in front of Sean? Yes. After the New York trip, where did you see Sean? When did you next see Sean? In Miami at a hotel. Did you two take these pictures? Not shown in a public gallery. Yes. We had Sly in Miami as well. Then I went back to LA. We had an argument there. Tell us why. He wanted to set up a party. He wanted me to reach out to entertainers. I noticed something online, that he was with an ex-girlfriend of his. I was furious. Oops. Did you ever speak with any of these other women? No. I found out on Instagram. These text messages, October 15, 2023. Please read what you wrote. I text, you got that girl next to you. Her BS is already starting. Meaning? Drama. I told Sean, introduce her to P. Who? Paul, one of the entertainers. Then I wrote, I'm not a porn star. These experiences are desensitizing sex for me. You think so? This is wild. And here, on October 16, 2023, the same fight. Please read these. I wrote, I don't want to be effed in these rooms. I felt there was more pressure on me than the others. There was an imbalance. I had to earn basic things for my romance. Love and romance. He was giving it to others. He was clearly capable of it. I wrote, it's been 3 years of me having to F strangers. He wrote, so we're breaking up? Is that what you were proposing? No. I wrote, I need a break spiritually. Then she's crying. What did you write next? I wrote, sex is sacred to me. I wrote, you always push me to do more and more. I said, I need time to myself. I said, may we have a sidebar? You may. Sidebar. During the long break, Combs is standing and talking with Xavier Donaldson. Please be seated. Miss Comey, please bring Jane back. Jane walks back. I think she walks back past Diddy's table as Diddy passes a note to his lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro. What did Sean write to you? He wrote, I want to spend the day with you. I wrote back, you make it crystal clear exactly what you want me for. You're going to spend the day love bombing me. What did you mean? Sean is very love bombing. I said, I'm not just an animal people can F on. He said, you're crazy. How often did he call you crazy? Often. I said, you want to have me suck some D so you can get off with Gina. I said, I'm drained. He said, I'll leave.
How is reading text messages hearsay, but you saying a police report is not hearsay? I mean, a police report, a lot of them are filled with lies because people lie all the time. But a text message is a conversation. That is not hearsay. That is a documented conversation. That's not hearsay. Not in the U.S. Text messages, voicemails are not hearsay. Those are actual conversations.
Leave you alone. In the next message, does he use your true name? Yes. And does he say, that's my house too? He does. He wrote, I'm coming over. You gonna let me in or not? Is your baby there? Are you gonna let me in our house again and again? Because he's paying her rent, so I guess he's saying this is my house too.
Here at Mint, we love green, and I'm excited to tell you about a deal that will save you a lot of green. We're teaming up.
Sean wrote to me, I'm so stressed. I'm horny. SMH. What does SMH mean? Shaking my head. He said his knees weren't good. I said I was hitting up my mom. She said taking bone supplements is key. Then you saw Sean? Yes. We had the sobriety party at the hotel. First, I went to a concert. I stood with his security. With his security, Jonathan, I went to the store for supplies for the hotel night. Sean was in the hotel waiting. He called me a B. What the F is taking so long? I got there. His assistant said, you don't deserve to be called a B. At L'Hermitage, what happened? I didn't want to take drugs. Who was the first entertainer? RICO, then Paul, then Anton. Then I threw up. So 3 different male escorts. Sean said, good, you threw up. Now you'll feel better. Then I had sex with Anton. I felt terrible. Whose text is this? Mine. I wrote, baby, I love you. Do you think you could put something in my hotel? Did Sean respond? No. I needed furniture for the house. I wrote, you weren't too busy to make sure Chelsea was ready in DC. Play the voice note. Sean Combs' voice. I don't know where the F Chelsea is. I ain't with no B's. Leave me the F alone. I'm single. Oh. What frustrations did you feel? Not being heard about how I felt about the hotel nights. Did you use names for the other women? Yes. It was misdirected anger. I asked, what does the house have to do with what I'm saying? I wrote, I'm not Gina or Cassie. Were you telling Sean you were going to speak out about your relationship? Objection sustained. Please read. Did you reference your child? Yes. I said, you got me effed up. I said, just complete what he promised about the 2 years, about the home. I said, don't contact me. What did he say in response? He said, I'm super clear now. I said, you had me on constant pins and needles. Now I'm sick. Leave me alone. Does the next message reference a prior relationship you had? Yes. Then he says, I was told you were crazy. He said, you took it too far, baby girl. You'll see. He was threatening me about the rent, that we don't need to do anything. We don't want. I wrote, you're mad at me about a grown-ass man? Stop right there. Was this referring to your prior relationship? Yes. I wrote, you wasted my time in this toxic-ass relationship. Did you then refer to your previous relationship? Yes. Just a quick note, I did a video on this. 50 Cent has alluded that we don't know this for sure. We don't know who this is, okay? Diddy was dealing with everybody at this point. But he's alluding that this is his baby mother on the stand testifying as Jane Doe. As you know, I did a video about how Diddy and 50 have a long-standing beef that goes back decades. And there are pictures, and it is known that 50 Cent's baby mother was in a relationship or dealing with Diddy. Okay, there's pictures
Shout
of
out to Melanie King.
Video of her saying thanks to Diddy for something. There's a whole history there. So it's what I think they're referencing. If it is her, again, I'm not doxing. I have no clue. This is just what people are saying, what 50 kind of hinted to. References that you can kind of get online is because he cares about he's having this beef with her baby daddy. I don't know of any other outstanding beef of somebody so significant that Diddy would have a beef with. If it was just some random dude, no, like, why would he have a beef with him? Okay, and this was referenced when she first took the stand and talked about how they have problems. So again, I think if this is her, we don't know. I just want to make that clear, okay? I'm not doxing. I don't know. But if so, then they're referencing 50 Cent in this. All right. You invited me to New York to pair me up with some random man. Any mother effort for your own sick sexual. What are you talking about? The two men I had chose for myself, Sly and Anton. Sean kept trying to say I chose them. I had wanted it. I wrote, you want to gaslight me. What did you mean? He wanted me to believe I had wanted these things. What else did Sean text you? He said, you and me don't have no beef. I said, you created all this evil inside me. I wrote to him, I regret everything, all this toxic shite, which overran my life. He said, you are burning a bridge that you are going to need tomorrow. What did you write? I wrote, I don't trust you. He said, 10 hours ago, you loved me, not this. He wrote, it's a free country. I'm an adult and you're an adult. You are writing a whole book about how you hate, about what you hate about me, sorry. We both made promises that we didn't keep. If you don't want to talk to me, there's nothing I can do. Did you get the phone? Yes. What did you write here? I said, you knew I would finish strong. Pep talks to keep me performing. I know I was consenting. Like you said, you didn't know I didn't want it. This is my truth. I love you very much. I need to take a pause. She's actually writing she was consenting. Why did you say I know I was consenting? I picked up the word from him. He said if anyone saw these videos, they'd say you wanted it. So is she referencing, she's saying, I don't know. Again, I'm going to do a recap that gives more clarification to what is being said. I'm just going off of what I'm seeing here. So, but I don't have the full context. But she's saying, I know I was consenting. I think that would be a win for the defense if she's saying that she's consenting. But is she referencing it? I know I was consenting, like on the tape, it looks like I'm consenting. Again, we don't know, but if she's saying that in the text, I know the defense is going to pounce all over this in their cross-examination. I picked up the word from him. He said, if anyone saw, okay, I already read that. If anyone saw these videos, they say you'd wanted it. Was that true, Jane? I'm still trying to figure that out. That's also going to hurt. Possibly, if she's saying she's still trying to figure out if she actually wanted all of this. And was there coercion? I mean, you can have consent from a trafficking victim, technically. I mean, that's what they have. Usually is consent from a trafficking victim, but it's because of the duress or under the coercion.
Right.
All of those different things, but we don't know yet. What did you see in the videos? Make sure I didn't skip anything. Okay. I was high. I was just following a pattern, performing. Exhibit. Please read it. It's from my notes. I wrote, I'm having PTSD from these nights. Why are your notes app? To get my feelings out. Did you see Sean that day? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, just sit back and listen, Barbara.
I was able to talk about the pain I was feeling. He was hugging me. What are these? Photos I took of us in his master bathroom. I felt he understood me in this moment. He had a Halloween video shoot. That was nice. But his birthday was approaching and I felt nervous. He wanted to party hard, but he spent his birthday with his family. I got him a mobile television. We had these things called movie nights, our videos. So her freak off videos, like who wants to have this much sex and watch it? Like, how depraved do you have to be mentally that this is all you want? This is grotesque. I don't know. Maybe I'm Pollyanna, but leave me out of this. I felt this TV could substitute for the entertainer. Okay, so she got this. So instead of her having to be with the freak off person, I don't know. They could watch it while they had sex. Instead of having the male escort, those are the entertainers that could substitute for it. Because it's kind of freaky to watch the video. I don't know. Of her, I guess videos of her freak offs with these guys so they could just watch it, and that could be what they do instead of bringing in an entertainer again, a male escort. Then Cassie's lawsuit came out. It was everywhere on social media. I think I fainted. Why? Because, and she starts crying, there were 3 pages that were harrowing.
Make sure, out of respect, Barbara.
Did you screenshot those pages?
Hold on. Yes. Let me be clear so I don't have no misunderstanding. Respectfully, your husband won't allow you to support the platform. Mine won't allow me to answer questions without you supporting the platform. You asked a lot of questions without any support. Okay? So if maybe that's what you need to tell your husband. Okay? Okay, respectfully. You asked more questions than anyone, and you haven't sent not one cash out or support. Okay?
Do you recognize this? It's Cassie's lawsuit, filed November 16, 2023. Had you met Cassie? In 2015, a fashion show and celebration for Sean. That's the only time I met Cassie. I was reading these pages and it felt like a nightmare. I had a lot of sympathy for this because objection, ask a new question. How did you react? Like, I can't believe I'm reading my own story. Read your messages the day after Cassie's lawsuit. 4 in one night, and now I'm going to the doctor. 4 men in one night, 4 male escorts in one night. Now remember, these things will go on for like 30 hours. Oof. Again, guys, can we get a medical doctor to talk about the physical trauma, the aspects of a woman having this much sex? I'm surprised they don't need full hysterectomies. Like, this is, like, it's like if you're a guy and you see another guy get kicked in the nuts and you like cringe, you like that feeling like, ugh. That's what I feel when I read about this. It's like, ugh, my ovaries, it just, I know it hurt. I know. She said it hurt. Oh God. Okay. Now she's going to the doctor. Then 3 days later, I wrote, I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. God finally woke me up about this cycle. You gaslit me. We're going to play some audio with your true name redacted. Show the full transcript to the jury. Loud and scratchy audio is played. Sean Combs is saying, I love you. You know what I'm saying. I'm trying to stop all this madness. Jane, I don't know. Did you know you were being recorded? No. Did you know you were being listened in on? No. More audio. Jane saying, who's there when I close my eyes and I have these effed things in my head? Play to 345. I'm trying to be there for you. Oh, this is Sean Combs' voice. I'm trying to be there for you. You know what I'm saying. I'm just effed up right now. Sean Combs asks, are you recording me? Jane, were you recording him? Absolutely not. So was he recording her? But he was asking her, are you recording me to gaslight? And how do they have this audio? Because it seems like to be some surprise audio that's popped up. Was this from the raids, that one of the tapes that they got from the raid?
Oh, I understand.
More audio. Sean Combs' voice. What you did is not right. You know what I'm saying. I can't talk on this phone. I don't know what the F is going on. I need you to support. You got me that video thing. What did that mean? The mobile TV I got him. So is this him freaking out after his home was raided? Because he's saying he needs support? Your Honor, this might be a good place to break. Okay, jurors, you may go. How much longer, Ms. Comey? I'm confident I'll finish today. It may be the end of the day, but today. And then break. All right, guys, so make sure you are checking out my channel and you're subscribed and hit the notification.
Yeah, I'm finna get ready to end this, y'all. Let me see. Let me hear what Gene Bill talking about. I'm finna get ready to end this. Let's see what Gene's saying.
You don't understand that the man that's the good.
This is gonna be my last one over here, y'all.
My name Brianna testified, right? That Diddy helped her over our document. Tell me about that.
Object. That did not even make it in the courtroom, bro. They objected to that. You know what I'm saying? Because for whatever reason, for whatever legal thing, it was a lawsuit that was civil that was going on. And they could not bring that into court. You only know that and because of the content creators who was there and people like me who was there who heard the stuff, it got objected to it and they couldn't even bring that into court. But you know what? The prosecutors were like, yeah, we know they was gonna do that. So we gonna go a whole nother route. And they got it in there. I'm gonna tell you how they got it in there. Because they tried to make Brianna seem like everything she said it was lies because of her drug use. Her still wanting to be around Puff. You understand? Her still going out to parties with them, even after she said he choked her, he beat her, he did this. But people gotta understand this. Until you around in that whole atmosphere with those people, you don't understand that the man that's the goal, has all the gold, makes all the rules. Now, see, people don't understand this, and let me break this down to you, bro. If Puff hates you, everybody that you made friends with, everybody that knows you, they hate you. They can't show you that they love or got love for you. Do you understand that? Those people in that industry clique, they'll go out on Mondays and Wednesdays and everything, have parties. If Puff ain't f***ing with you, ain't nobody gonna f*** with you. So now, when them girls make up to him, it's not just for them to make up to him. It's to show everybody that's around that me and Puff is still cool so they can start back treating you cool. That's just crazy to me, bro. I don't even understand why they give a f***, but that's how it is, bro. That's why those people keep running back to him, because they know if he don't f*** with them, nobody's gonna f*** with them in that industry around there. Whether it's parties, whether it's work, socializing, none of that. So when he hung the girl over the back balcony, that couldn't get into court because it was a civil suit that was pending or did like that. You understand what I'm saying? So they wouldn't let it in there. So what the prosecutors did was
has already kicked off.
they got the text messages in there.
From Kansas City
So
to
when
the
y'all
capital
hear
city.
the news people out there, well, Brianna was lying. She was not telling the truth.
That's not true.
She didn't remember this. She didn't remember that. Puff personal assistant KK and Cassie was texted on 9/30/2016 when it happened. Was texting. Yo, he put up, KK, we're going to take care of it. We're going to make sure everything's okay. We're sorry. He was drunk. He was high. We're going to make sure she's be compensated for her injury. All that shit, bro. All that shit is in text messages, and the prosecutors got the text messages in there. So now the jury might not see, you understand? Can't hear Brianna part of it, but they can hear the text messages because there was a civil suit. You understand? And he was paying her millions of dollars for doing that. So all these content creators, all these news people that say the girl was lying, she couldn't have been lying because the text messages don't lie. They brought in
Expert.
a federal computer analyst who got the text messages out of Cassie and old girl's phone that states that they was talking about it in September in 2016, bro.
Facts.
The prosecutor got bombed for that. Now the jury gonna look at it like, yo, they were trying to make this girl out a lie, but they was telling this lie in 2016, and not one person said that was a lie back then. But all of a sudden, in 2025, it's a lie. The prosecutor cooked their ass on that one, bro. Cooked them. They got the text messages that told the story that Puff did hang the girl over the balcony, was choking her the whole 9 yards, and they was trying to put a civil suit or stop her from doing a civil suit so they can pay her off. To pay her off. And sign an NDA just like they did the security people. Just like they did the security people, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, I ain't know all that, man.
He should have done something if he taught it.
Bro, they was trying to say the young lady got exposed for lying because
what are you talking about? Soulfully hers.
Was been taking medication, been taking drugs, the whole 9 yards.
He was not his.
But
what you talking about?
Messages from Cassie and Puff personal assistant that told the truth. They told the truth. Why would they be lying in 2016 about that happening? Why would they be lying? Right after it happened. Right when it's happening. And that's the point that prosecution made.
You talking about Gene Deal? He wasn't his guard at that time. He wasn't his bodyguard at that time.
Was talking about pink cocaine, ecstasy, mollies.
He was not there. What are you talking about?
Drugs, bro.
I'm confused. Oh, you talking about Gene? How could he have done something? He was not his bodyguard during that time.
A kid did not use drugs, wouldn't smoke weed. He got out there, and not only he got drugs, he got drunk on power. By him being drunk on power and using drugs.
And let's be clear. Bodyguards was hired to protect Diddy.
In the end, this is the first time, bro.
Period.
This is the first time in our lifetime.
Period.
You're going to see an individual that was on top of the world. Had everything that they also dreamed of. and gonna lose everything that they dreamed of. You can't make this shit up, bro.
Yeah, it gotta be the drugs, man. If you're hanging people over balconies, you can't be in your right mind. But I want to ask you about D-Rock and a guy named Paul. Like, I'm hearing these testimonies and their names keep coming up.
Bro, that's why either
D-Rock was his security.
And
Paulie.
They either gonna be a co-conspirator,
which he is.
The prosecution may have their testimony sealed, whereas they may not have to come into court or whatever like that, or they may bring them into court or whatever, or may have some kind of sealed affidavit or whatever from them, but they gonna have to either.
Okay, y'all, I'm finna get ready to shut it down. Y'all don't have my likes up where I want them to be. So I am going to go ahead and end this. She absolutely is a co-conspirator. And so is D-Rock too, I think. But they definitely named KK as a co-conspirator.
Every testimony, bro.
Okay, y'all, I'll be back later. Y'all got to get my likes up.
Talking about Paul and D-Rock, Paul and D-Rock, or D-Rock and Paul. So it ain't came up.
Yeah, got to do better.
Either they gonna be co-conspirators.
Yeah, must do
or they
better.
Gonna have some kind of sealed affidavit or sealed testimony or something against Puff. They got to. They got to bring them in.
The thumbs up. Or the three dots up at the top.
So many people that talked about
double tap it on your phone. Double tap your screen on your phone. Like this. If you're on your phone.
D-Rock and Paul. These are the
you just took it away. It just went down one instead of going up. Okay, bye.